for Huru. Thank you so much for joining us. As we always do, before we get started, make sure you go to dynastymirror.com. Again, make sure you go to dynastymirror.com. While you're there, make sure you buy a book. Okay, go and buy. This is my first ever book written, my sales book, Sales Motivation 101. Get off your, you know what, and cold call. Make sure you go to dynastymirror.com and buy that book. Also, make sure you get your Black Love or Die Trying t-shirt. Also available on dynastymirror.com, your Black Love or Die Trying t-shirt. Make sure you get that as well. Also, like, share, and subscribe. I think Miss Courtney froze up on us. Okay, no, she's back with us. All right, make sure you like, share, and subscribe as well. Again, like, share, and subscribe. As you come into the chat room, hit that like button. Please share the content as well. We're almost at 100,000 subscribers. Again, we are almost at 100,000 subscribers. So if you guys share the content, we will get there sooner. And then hit that subscription bell. And while you're at dynastymirror.com, make sure you join the email list. Again, make sure you join the email list as well. Tour, April 21st through the 30th. April 21st to the 30th. We lost her. April 21st to the 30th. April 21st to the 30th. We are going to Sierra Leone, Freetown, Sierra Leone. So again, if you want to join us, go to dynastymirror.com, send me a message. Again, go to dynastymirror.com and send me a message so you guys can join the tour with us. Fafu Malal, my sister, is in the chat room. My sister Fafu Malal is in the chat room. So, and then what else? You know, we got to go. We got to get to the laundry list of announcements before we get on. Patreon. Become a monthly Patreon, patreon.com, search for Huru. Please support our content so you can help us expand and grow. Again, we are growing. So, you know, we don't have the NBC, CBS, BET, and all those other major media networks budgets, but we're getting there. So therefore, if you enjoy the content, you know, become a monthly Patreon or buy a product. You know, we have tangibles, as they say. So buy a product, become a monthly Patreon, so we could reinvest that money back into the brand. Without further ado, we have Miss Courtney Omega on with us today. You're muted. There you go.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me. You know, we've been talking for a minute, so I really appreciate the opportunity to just, you know, share in regards to, you know, coming up with some solutions.
Right.
Talking about some things in regards to relationships, you know, so thank you again for having me on. Peace to the channel, peace to the chat. Everybody on here, thank you so much for being a part of this conversation. I'm sure it's going to be lively.
Yeah, and guys, I like, you know, again, we're kind of deviating from, you know, usually we might primarily focus on Africa, but I think conversations like this are important. And today's topic is, you know, in the chat room, I see a lot of people saying, Dynas, men aren't marrying us, men aren't marrying us. But then if you look at the numbers, it seems like women are lead, are the rate. I mean, it's just women are primarily initiating the divorces.
Initiating divorces.
Right, that's what I mean. Initiating the divorces at a high rate. So I'm just, you know, I like to bring women on to break things down. So again, women are saying that men aren't marrying us. Then you follow that up with women are initiating the divorces at a very high rate. I think for women it's like at 69%, and then it said for college educated women it was at 90%.
Yeah, almost 90, a little over 80.
Which, you know, I just kind of want clarity on women. We're going to open up the chat lines. You know, we want to make this an open conversation. Again, we're going to be respectful with each other. We're going to be very respectful to each other. But again, I'll just like to hear from women, you know, why is this so? Because again, I'm for marriage. I think it's important. I'm about family unit. Now, I wasn't like that at one time, but I am now. I think it's important to have a family unit and to be married. But, you know, you have this MGTOW movement. You have all these other movements that are taking place. And they're saying, like, look at the statistics. It doesn't make sense for us to get married if, look at the numbers. What sense does it make? And I think the thing is, a lot of times people will say, well, I don't want the woman to take half. Well, let's leave that. Let's just put that to a side. That's a stereotypical answer. But, I was just reading and just researching as far as the emotional toll. In fact, here we go. Courtney, you're from Miami, right? Or you used to live in Miami, correct?
Yeah, I was in Miami for about a decade.
So here's a prime example. Luther Campbell, his wife just out of the blue. And again, I don't know what happened. You might know because you used to stay down there. His wife out of the blue wants a
Filed
divorce.
for divorce. Yeah.
And Luther Campbell, like he was shocked. He said he's been faithful. And that's the thing. Like when I ask a lot of women, like, why are they divorcing their husbands? It's not the he was physically abusive. It hasn't been, he cheated on me. It's just been very just vague and abstract reasons. So, a lot of people like to clown and talk bad about MGTOW and all these other movements. But then when you look at the data, when I'm having these conversations, it's like, how can you really argue with them? And then, of course, the rebuttal is well, like all women aren't like that. But it's like, what do you do? Because again, a lot of these women is like, what do you do to kind of figure out that all women are like that? But Courtney, now your situation is a little bit different. I mean, it's, how can I say, it's somewhat is relevant to the topic, but it's a little bit different. I know you're very open. But anyways, introduce yourself, Courtney. I know you used to be in politics, and then kind of go through your story, and we'll jump into it.
Okay. Well, thank you again, everyone in the chat. Thank you again, Dynas. Thank you for sharing your platform. As you know, I've been a fan of yours for some time now. It definitely in regards to the movement and encouraging others to get invested in the idea of us and our African roots. So my background is first of all, I come from a 2-parent household.
Okay.
I was married young. I was married before I even graduated from college. I graduated from Florida A&M. I went to Florida A&M. I met my ex-husband my freshman year. And by my senior year, we were married. We were married my senior year in college. Yeah, I was, not a faithful wife. Really,
Courtney, I'm sorry to cut you off. In fact, you can, so I don't forget. After you finish what you have to say, why weren't you a faithful wife? But go ahead.
Okay, was not a faithful wife, and really didn't realize the trauma that I was putting on not just myself, but in regards to my legacy until the divorce was imminent. So I've been divorced now for 8 years. I got into another relationship. I was engaged to another gentleman for about 3 years, and we didn't continue after he wouldn't set a date for marriage. And I've been single and celibate ever since. So I just celebrated my 6-year celibacy last Sunday. I've been single and celibate. I do have 2 children. When we talk about the reasons for infidelity, I'm not going to, and I don't want to curse on your channel. I don't want to be, is it live? Like RJ would say, Ray J would say. But I'm not going to, reduce anybody's intelligence or insult anyone's intelligence with making up an excuse for it. It was no excuse. It was not something that my family encouraged me to do. It was not something that, because I never really had a lot of girlfriends, and I always have had a real good crop of people around me. So it wasn't something that people were, kind of encouraging me to do. I can just say this, that at a certain point in my life, I was just really selfish, and having the attention of other men was, something that I welcomed. My ex-husband was in law school. And so, our the time that we could kind of spend together was very limited, because he was in law school for most of the days and most of the hours of the day. And so in between, it would be a lot of dinners by myself, a lot of things like that. And so I was a publicist in the entertainment industry, and I became, pretty advantageous and pretty active with, just different concerts and club dates and album release parties. And, I ended up just kind of, it started very, very kind of on a friendly tip, but then just engaging, having a lot of extramarital relationships, not necessarily sexual, but they were definitely very, they were disrespectful. If I had the option of, having a night home as opposed to, going over to New York for album release party, I was going over to New York for the album release party. I was not putting marriage first. I wasn't putting my husband first. So that definitely was, it was detrimental. And even though that wasn't throughout, we were married for 13 years. That wasn't the majority of the years that we were married. The damage is really done when it happens. And this has not been a very popular thing for me to say, but I always tell people, the divorce was the best thing that happened to me because it made me see me. And it was the first time I wasn't looking at who I was through what my husband saw or what people saw. Being married to a lawyer and a professor was very, I like that. I like the title of it. I like the status of it. But for the first time, I was able to see me through me, and I didn't like me. So, and I always say, if someone cheats, you divorce. Let them go where they were. And that's not popular all the time when I share that, but that's the truth of it. I honestly believe that,
Hold on one second. Hey, Tanya Roberts, I want you to call in. All right, I want you to call in. Here's the email. Send me an email, Tanya, and I will send you the link and you can call in. And that's your opinion, but you're more than welcome to call in and voice your opinion, Tanya. Let me say this. I myself have made mistakes. I myself have played a role in, I guess, the somewhat, I don't want to say destruction, but the what's what I want to use. Just the where we're at right now in regards to this gender war as far as black men and black women.
It's horrible.
I have played my role in contributing to that. There we go.
Right.
Or in the decline of black men and black female relations. I have played a role in the decline of that. Sorry about that. Got tongue tied. So, I just want to put that out there. So, I just think conversations like this are important where it's 50-50. Look, we both made mistakes. How do we move together? How do we move forward together?
Yeah.
So I think that's important. Now, as far as how did your husband find out? What happened? If you don't mind me asking, I'm just curious.
Well, that will get a little personal, and the reason why I just don't disclose that because he has a story too, and it's something that with the divorce decree, because he's a practicing legal attorney, and he's very visible. So
okay. All right, no problem.
Yeah, but it was very difficult. I will say that it was not like it didn't come up in therapy. We got therapy after, but it was not a pleasant conversation. It was not a calm conversation. But I will say this, that my ex-husband has always been, and I want to say this without getting emotional, but he's always been he has always been he's been an upstanding guy. So no, it was not a situation where it got physical or anything like that.
Okay.
But it was, when I say it was difficult, it was just difficult because it was a long conversation. It was a conversation that was a long time coming. And it was very hard for me to admit it at the time. And, and I just think that even I look back on it and it was, many years ago, but I just look back on that day and it was one of the saddest days of my life. It was just like it's like admitting that you killed someone,
Guys, hit that like button again, please. Hit that like button again, please. Hit that like button as you come to the chat room. Now, looking back, like, how do you reflect on your past marriage?
He was a really, when we talk about, that's why I said when I entered into, because I do have a YouTube channel as well, and I talk about being accountable and glowing up, and I think that does start very internally. Without the divorce from him, from that marriage, I would not have had the opportunity to really look inside, because on the outside looking in, everything was really good. I came from a, pretty, well, as my grandmother would say, a good stock. My grandmother was in its political legacy. She was the first African-American and first female mayor of Daytona Beach. My parents were both, social workers and very active and involved. His family were an educational, family. They were both professors. So, it was on paper, everything was great. People would always joke with me. They say on paper I was married to Obama because he was an Ivy League educated attorney. He's a certified genius. So, as far as the marriage, I miss my friend. We met my freshman year. He's older than me, but we met my freshman year at FAMU. And I miss that friendliness of it, because we were really, we were friends. We were friends. We were two kids in love. He was my first for everything. And so, that always, I always was very proud of that, to be married, to be a virgin bride, but I got married young. So, I do look back on that, but we all know that nothing happens by way of coincidence. Everything.
Yeah, you're real low.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
There we go. You're good. Go ahead.
Good. So everything happens is not by coincidence. Everything happens for a reason. And as far as the marriage, I enjoyed being a Mrs. I didn't enjoy being married. Marriage was a lot of work.
You just said something. Okay. Somebody told me this one time, Courtney. Some women enjoy the wedding, but not being wives. They want the wedding, but they don't want to be. Okay. Can you expand on that?
So that's what it was like. But, even more so, because getting married was it was huge, because I'm the youngest of my family. My brother and my dad walked me down the aisle, my grandmother arranged, because like at the time she was actually a commissioner. She wasn't married yet, but she arranged for this beautiful garden wedding. But it wasn't just the wedding, it was just the whole idea of it. It was just incredible, being married to this type of person. He was just really like a cool dude, very respectful, and he was the one that wanted to get married. That was the big thing. It wasn't me that was pushing a marriage. Of course I was like, I wanted to, because I wanted to to get going with some activity. And I can say that now. That was very hard for me to admit back then. But I wanted to get going with some activity. But he was just like, hey, we got to get married. And, I loved that he had that type of faith. The marriage was work, though. And I just didn't realize what type of work. I just thought, marriage was just going to be cooking for him or cooking for a husband, cleaning up, and you go to work and you come home and you have sex. That's just the way it happens. Well, I didn't think about the times that how lonely I would feel when, he didn't feel like having sex because he was at school all day. I didn't think about, just like the emptiness that a house can feel, even though two people live in it. It was a lot of emotional things that I just didn't tie to marriages, because even though I came from a 2-parent household, I was the youngest of 5. Our house was always filled,
Right.
something was always on the stove, and somebody was always, there was always something going on. And there was a lot of silence in our marriage. And I didn't know what that was. That was very unusual to me. So, that's where the working in the entertainment industry kind of filled that void.
Mm-hmm.
I was always going out to these parties, these concerts, these events, and it just that was how I started to fill that gap, or started to needed that noise. Some people have to go to sleep with the TV running or something running or playing.
Right.
That's what the extramarital affairs and relationships became to me. And that was the way I was coping with the marriage, was with going out on these dinners and going on these trips and going to these places with, other people, other men.
Okay, let me ask you this. So another argument is, so your man, did he take care of you? Like, were you taken care of outside
Like, did he
of?
provide?
Yeah, provide. Did he provide?
Yeah, I mean, I had to work. I mean, I worked too, but you know what? And I will say this: when I would start a job, like before I became a booking agent, I taught. I was a teacher, and so when I became a booking agent, though, when you weren't booking shows, you have to get them to overlap for you to make any considerable amount of money. And so when I wasn't booking shows, and I would take kind of these odds and end jobs, what have you, maybe like a receptionist or something like that, he would always say it was more important for me to chase my dreams than to chase a paycheck. And so if I would call and say, hey, I'm going to quit, he'd be like, go ahead, I'll come pick you up. He was that went on for some years. He was very supportive in that regard.
Because the argument is,
and very resourceful. But yes, he took care of me. I was a kept woman. I didn't pay a bill until I was divorced.
So that's my question. So you worked it. Well, you had a job, but he took care of everything still.
Yeah, well, my money got used towards what he would say is like entertainment. And yes, that continued until we had children. Once we had children, my money went towards daycare and things like that.
Okay, so this is my next question. You were married. He took care of everything. This argument is, I haven't gotten clarity on this. And guys, hit that like button. Again, please hit that like button. And guys, we have a tour coming up April 21st to the 30th, April 21st to the 30th, Sierra Leone. If you would like to join us, please message me again, April 21st to the 30th, Sierra Leone, and hit that like button. So, Courtney, if you could please explain, because when I'm somewhat distracted and I see this gender war going on, the women are saying that the men can't take care of us. They're not providers. The men are saying, the women just want to use us for a check, but aren't bringing anything to the table. In a home, all right, this is where I kind of get confused. So when women say that men aren't providing and they need to take care of everything, these men want 50-50. Should I articulate that as a woman should just be a stay-at-home mom and men should work full-time? Or should these women have jobs? And if these women have jobs, where should their check be going towards the funding? That's where I just kind of get confused. Because it's like, okay, men take care of everything, but you have a full-time job. So what are you doing with your money? So how should this work, Courtney?
Well, that's a great question, Dinus. It really is. And I can just say this. So my life has literally been split in like 2 different components, right? I was married throughout my 20s and early 30s. Okay. So that situation, yes, this man did take care of me, but I was easier to take care of when there's, we didn't have children for most of those years. You understand? So our household bills were, nothing compared to what individually our household bills are now. Now I can say this, with the men that I dated after, or the main relationship that I had after, my divorce, like I said, I was in another relationship for, relationship for almost 3 years, that he was not in a situation where he could take care of. But he would often tell me that I needed to be more home in the kitchen than out in the community. But the community was where I was getting my contract, because at the time I was a community liaison and a coordinator for an organization. So no, not every meeting led to another contract, but you still have to go to meetings in order to vet contracts. As an independent consultant, the networking and the capacity building is really a part of it. That, and this was this was a gentleman that had no children. He had never been married. So dating a woman that was married previously, that had 2 children previously, no, he wasn't in a situation where he could provide. And it was very unequally yoked.
Oh, okay, hold on. I think I missed you. So he brought kids into the relationship.
No, I did. He didn't have any kids.
Okay, you're talking about after you divorced. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
So that's what I was saying. I was saying that I can answer this question, but it's in a couple of parts, because yes, my ex-husband was providing, but it was easy to provide when it's just one, it was just the 2 of us. When the kids came, my money had to go towards taking care of the kids' schooling. Because before we had kids, we had always agreed that we were going to homeschool. But after we had kids, after my daughter went to school, she spent the most time at home. She went to school she didn't go to school till almost 4 or 5 years later. But my son went to school almost 2 years later. So
okay. Because I get confused, and and women, I want you to chime in as well. The guys, email me uhuru@searchforahuru.com. Again, uhuru@searchforahuru.com. Send me an email. The email is in the chat room, because I hear this: men can't provide, but then you hear women how educated they are, how much money they're making. But so I'm like, okay, men pay all the bills, pay everything. But the money you're making, like, where does that go, and how does that help the unit? That's where I get confused.
Yeah, my money went towards school, went towards the children's education. And then also too, I inherited after my grandmother died. After she passed away, we got an inheritance, and so literally, a big part of that inheritance went towards my daughter's college account. So, but yeah, when we moved to Miami from Charlotte, North Carolina. I immediately, maybe about 4 months after I started working, I started working in the gym industry as a personal trainer and our physical fitness consultant. And then that money went towards my children's, for them to go to school, because for the first time in our life, we were in a situation where we both had to work. Prior to having children, the cost of living and where we were, we came from Philadelphia. We could do it. It was hard, but we could do it kind of like on a 1.5 salary, his salary, and then the half of when I did book shows and that sort of thing. But once we had children and we were in Miami, we both absolutely had to work. And that was a real hard adjustment for me, honestly.
Okay.
And I know that sounds very immature, but it was. I had not ever had to have a 9-to-5 job ever in our relationship. And that was a very I would say also too, Dinus, to tell you the truth, because we went to therapy and,
Okay,
I
that's
I
good.
didn't, there was no more cheating, but financially we were still in a very rocky area. And actually the last argument that we ever had as a couple was over finances. It was not over fidelity.
Okay. Okay. So, yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how men can't provide. I'm trying to like picture how that looks when
It Well, I can tell you from also personal experience, just with the one gentleman that I dated after, because that was my more long term. And like I said, I've been single and celibate for, a number of years now. But right after, I divorced, um, it was one of two situations. So there was a gentleman that I dated. He was a financial advisor for a hospital and also had no children. Um, Made a very good deal of money, but was also very much aware that basically I could take care of my children and my situation by myself. So, he did get the townhome and we did move in together, for a short period of time. And he insisted that he would pay the rent, but I had to pay for, like, to have the house cleaned. If I wasn't going to be able to clean it 3 times a week, I had to pay for the maid service. Um, I had to provide for any of the groceries that came in,
okay.
things like that.
How,
But we were together for a very short time. But the gentleman that I was with the longer, for the next 2 years or so, he was I out earned him. He for the years that we were together, almost 3 years, I out earned him by about $30,000. And it was not even a question. It wasn't even a question of whether he could provide. He couldn't.
okay.
So,
So,
but
all right.
not to say that, because we did have an account together. I had a separate account, but we also had one together. And not for nothing, what he was contributing was definitely missed after we broke up, but he was definitely not providing in that relationship. It was more of a 50-50, or, in some months it was like a 60-40. It went back and forth, but it definitely wasn't, I was not being taken care of.
And
Nor was that the expectation. I had alimony and child support at that point.
oh, so yeah, alimony and child support. God, oh my
Yeah.
God.
My ex-husband actually, so my first year after we were divorced, he paid out my complete alimony. So he didn't have to pay it anymore. So the
Like,
only thing, right.
so okay, so guys, hit that like button again. We have almost 300 people watching, so if you could please hit the like button, hit that like button. So the alimony part, like, what are your thoughts on alimony? Like, do you feel like you deserve the alimony?
I will say this, because I had the children. Absolutely. My ex-husband did. He did actually, he wanted to petition for sole custody, but he withdrew, and he's done that a couple of times since we've been divorced. He's threatened it 3 times, and he's only filed 1 time, because I think the reality does set in. So the alimony was more so because when we did divorce, I was not working at the time. um when the divorce was final, I wasn't working at the time, but I was just with the children. And it was mostly so that I could get another place, because he went to live in a much smaller place than what we were living in. And so it was so I could continue to either sustain where we were at, and because we lived in Kendall in Miami, or I could get something that was equivalent to it. And so yeah, so he paid me out a complete alimony. And at the time, I was, of course, just glad to get it. But now looking back, I'm an insurance broker now. I absolutely should have just invested the money. But yeah, but
Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to watch my words carefully here when I ask this question. I want to watch my
Watch
words
them,
very carefully.
Dynasty.
I know I want to watch them carefully. So you had extramarital affairs.
Yes.
You guys got divorced,
Yes.
and he still had to pay alimony and child support.
That was his choice. Remember, my ex-husband's a lawyer.
Okay.
So he didn't
Okay.
fight me on anything. That was his choice. And I didn't push for anything. I didn't push for anything.
Okay.
I didn't push for anything.
Okay.
I
Got
agreed what he set forward at the mediator, I signed. I agreed to it. I never pushed for anything.
Okay. So I just think the whole provide, I guess everybody's definition of provide is different. Cause I'm trying to figure out how does this, man can't provide for me look like in an age when women are bragging about how they're out earning men. So
I don't know if it's about a bragging thing. Like I said, with the gentleman that I was engaged to after my divorce, it wasn't even an interest to fully provide. Like I remember his uncle passed away, and his uncle had left him some money.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, you can get this business going and that sort of thing. And I was, kind of encouraging him in that regard. And he was getting the business going. And then it was just like, yeah, I'm just gonna kind of put this money away. I'm like, okay, it was no talk about finally getting that house, so we can stop, renting. It was more so the discussion. So I can only speak on my personal experiences, and I can also just share other experiences that I've heard of for some people. But I hearken a lot of experiences back to when I was in the entertainment industry, and I can just remember when I was working with certain artists, if they would question everything that they were spending their budget on, you would know that they didn't have a big budget. And so I kind of think a lot of women, with the frustration of that's where that stems from. Like when I first started dating, we were 3 months in, we were not yet, active. But I asked the gentleman that I ended up being engaged to, I asked him, could he pick up my cell phone bill that month? And he like blew a gasket. Like he was just like, what do you mean? What for? And I'm like, wow, because it's due. Like we've been spending a lot of time together, and I haven't been, because at this point, like I said, I was an independent consultant. I haven't been able to kind of chase down those contracts because we've been spending a lot of time together. But it was like I really had to justify it. And I was just thinking of how weird that was because with my previous relationship, I didn't have to ask. He just automatically paid the cell phone bill, So it definitely was a tale of two. It was a tale of two worlds, from dating to, dating in my 30s as opposed to being married in my 20s. It was two totally different worlds.
So Courtney, and it says Cece, I'm gonna let you on here in a second. Well, you're already on, but let me ask this last question. The men that you were involved with in your extramarital affairs, were they on the same level as your husband?
No, nobody was. Nobody was.
So they weren't on the same level.
They weren't not well. In what sense? In some sense, of course, because there was some artists, they had like money, but when I mean as far as like we didn't have the familiarity, the friendship, the courting, we just didn't have we didn't have the type of familiarity with one another. So that's what I'm getting on. But as far as money, yeah, a couple of them made more money. Absolutely. Okay. I was, like I said, not all of the relationships were sexual, but I was involved with a couple of artists, and yeah, they had money, but they weren't gonna they weren't buying me houses or anything, Okay. And I wasn't expecting them to. Like I said, when I was involved in those other relationships, it was more so time. We were going to dinner together, occasionally some shopping, but most of the time just, it was really spending time together, movies, just things like that.
Okay.
It wasn't a lot of, I wasn't, you know, looking for handbags or things, of that nature. So
Cece, go ahead.
Yeah, it was really interesting listening to this story, and I must say, I am happy that you were honest. However, the way that I think and the way that some other women think, we probably would have just stayed in the first relationship because you were, in the end, you did say that. See, I'm okay. So you did say that you were bored, but you also did say that you guys fought over finances, which is the whole, I've noticed basically the whole reason why more often than not women leave relationships. It's because when the finances start getting stretched, and that's when the, I guess, the elasticity of what a woman will take or what she will put up with kind of goes away. And for any men who don't understand, that's the whole point of hypergamy. Usually that's the whole point of you being the provider, because once that, see, like if you want to be a cheater or whatever, or if you want to do whatever you want as a man, I'd say women will usually put up with it. But if it gets to a point where I'm making as much as you, or you're not making as much more as I am, that's when I'll bounce.
No, but Cece, I think you skipped over the point that Courtney cheated on her husband.
yeah, but can I say something too to CC, because I do think she's absolutely right on point with it. Because again, yes, I cheated. The relationship didn't stop though. We continued, we went to therapy, we continued. But those financial discussions, those
Yeah.
never stopped. And they were there from the beginning to the end. And like I said, even with like, and I trust me, when I say this, I don't want to take away any of the blame from the detrimental destruction that I caused to our marriage. I don't want to take away any of the responsibility or the accountability for me not honoring my vows. But I will say that, and this will go to statistic as well. Statistics as well support this, that the top contributor to disunion is finances.
Yeah.
And that goes from both sides. It's not fidelity, it's finances. And even with the time that I was spending with other people, it literally would come down to, just like I said, it was the emotional, but financially, it was always something that was there. And I remember, so the last argument that we ever had was over a it was over $7.90 purchase of protein shakes. And he's an attorney, and he was going over to the BET Awards with one of his clients, and he was talking about his budget for going over to the BET Awards. And I had asked him about getting some protein shakes for me before he left, because that was literally all I was eating at the time. I was on a fast. I was, like I said, a personal trainer, and so I was always like, very trying to make sure and doing things, conditioning with my body. And he told me that I would have to get another client before I could get the protein shakes. And yeah, that was our last argument. That was our last argument. It was not about the infidelity. And I'm not saying that it didn't contribute, but our last argument was about $7.90 protein shake pack.
So Cece, my question is, so as far as, and again, I'm still trying to understand this provide, like okay, Cece, when you say when you no longer can provide, like can you, okay, if you're already working a job, Cece, and you say a man can no longer provide and hypergamy and all that, what does providing for you mean or look like?
All right. So obviously in 2020, providing doesn't necessarily mean that I don't work at all, but providing means that you're willing to go out more and do what needs to be done. So okay, let's say we're going through financial issues. It should be your responsibility as a man to go out there and work more hours and do all that in order to make sure that we're straight Basically, that's what I mean, because women crave security, they crave power, and they crave like a man's man, you know? That's what women crave.
Yeah.
Okay, so Stacey, my question is then, if it comes down to that, right, where you guys are having financial issues and he has to go out and get a second job or whatever, like, where is your money going if you're working?
It
My-
might be
my-
going
my-
to
my-
bills.
Yeah, that's what I'm
TC, are
saying.
you
Like,
still
how do
there?
you guys get to that point? Like, that's my question to you. Like, how do you guys get to that point? Again, if you're working and your man is providing, however that looks like, and you guys start struggling and he needs to go get a second job. Number one, how do you guys get into that position? Because again, I don't understand the definition of providing. You're saying if you guys are struggling, he needs to go get an extra job. But how do you get to that point of struggle where he needs to get an extra job if there's a 2-income household? That's my question.
Darnest, that's how it's supposed to be biologically, though. Back in the days, you guys would risk your lives to go out and hunt, go get those bears, go get those tigers, go get those deers, and we were supposed to prepare them and watch the kids. So that's just biologically what's supposed to be done. It's not even a matter of we have to get to a point where we're struggling for you to step up. That's always supposed to be there. That's
But
how
see,
women will ultimately respect you. Now, I think the problem is that since in America, because this doesn't happen in other countries, it mostly happens only here in America.
yeah,
In
but see, I'm
America,
not trying to cut you off. Again, my question is, I think we keep missing the question. Where is your money going? Your money. That's the point. I just need clarity. Like, where is your money going? Got these articles, black women are making the most money ever, most educated. My question, CC, is again, where is your money going towards what? I just want to know, where's the money going? Like, where's the paper trail?
towards my own life, possibly.
So you're taking that money, just putting it into your bank account.
CC, come on, CC. I need you back in here, sis.
So basically, you're working full-time job. You're just putting that money in your bank account for you. And
No,
you're,
well, we know. Well, when we talk about black
man,
women, we
this
know where 70% of black women's income goes. Where does it go? It goes in beauty. It goes in makeup. It goes
oh
in.
my God.
It does.
Yeah, pretty much.
70% of a black woman's income goes towards their upkeep. The nails being done, the hair being done, the makeup being right, the clothes being good. It does. It's superficial, but I mean, I'm just going to be very honest. When I was married, my ex-husband liked for me to wear weaves, and literally, that was a very big thing to him. Since I've been divorced, I don't wear weaves. I don't wear weaves. I'm natural all the way with it. But that was something that he was willing to compensate or understand. That was the compensation. He wanted me to always have my weave game very together. He liked that. And the longer was better. And so longer weaves cost more money. So there were plenty of paychecks that literally my whole paycheck went towards weaves.
Oh my gosh.
All right, so Cece, so you're trying to tell me that you work you're in a marriage, you work a full-time job, and you want a man to provide, but Courtney, Courtney, I'm gonna sit back. In fact, Courtney, here we go. Courtney, you have a son, right?
I have a son and a daughter, yes.
Would you want your son to sign up for this type of deal? Is he less of a man for signing up for this type of deal?
What type of deal, Dinus?
Okay, what CC just explained, because again, I just didn't understand. I hear provider. Then on the other, I hear boss chick. I hear we're leveling up. I hear we're most educated. I hear we got the most money. But then so my thing is like, okay, where is your money going? If we're in a relationship, like, where is your money going?
Well, again, okay, so men like for their ladies to look good, right? So you're going to ask me if I would sign up for my son to have this relationship. My son's 11, and he knows he likes women. He likes fit women. He said he doesn't like fat girls. He says this all the time. And he likes big butts. He likes a girl with a nice butt. And so we're gonna be very honest here. He's sleeping, but he would tell you, but off camera. But you know, so okay, that's a gym membership. That's a personal trainer, like things like that. And I think that men think about wanting these things, but they don't think about the actual upkeep. Like I said with the gentleman that I was dating, literally it was $50. My monthly bill was $50. And when I asked him to pay it, you would have thought I was telling him to,
yeah, but that's some bullshit. Like that I can't.
But that is what we're up against.
I can't support
Dinah, see, you're thinking about yourself, but no, but I'm telling you, this is what a lot of women are up against. And I'm saying the bill is due. What's the problem? It's $50. And so I didn't know at the time, but later on, he actually shared with me that he had to sell some of his gaming consoles to pay that bill, because he did agree to go ahead and pay it, and he had to sell his gaming consoles, and he was kind of resentful. And I was just like, that's just sad. I mean, this man was in his 40s, but you mad that you have to, you have to trade in some gaming consoles to help your lady out, to pay your lady's bill. And so sometimes, and I think maybe Cece is going to go here, so I'm going to let her take it. But sometimes it's not even a matter of that they can't. A lot of times it's a matter of the fact that they won't. They just don't want to. Like I said, I saw this man come in the money, and he was still like, just talking about, going to the University of Miami, buying season tickets. Like that's where his head was.
Okay, but the thing is, so Cece brought up the whole biological thing and men are hunters. Like, I'll be honest. If I were to marry a woman like Cece, she wouldn't work. If I'm paying for everything, she would just be in the kitchen. She'd be a stay-at-home mom.
I wouldn't have a problem with that.
No,
I wouldn't have a problem with that at where I am now.
You would
at 20, that scared me.
Mm-hmm.
That did. I did not want to be just. I didn't want to be a Susie homemaker.
Wait,
I didn't.
Not to cut you off, you're saying at 20 you didn't want to do that, but now you wouldn't mind doing that?
Cece, you're real low, Cece.
Yeah, I couldn't hear.
Cece, you're real low.
Oh, I said you're saying that at 20 you didn't want to do that, but now older you wouldn't mind doing that?
Of course. Absolutely. At 20, I wanted to be, you know what it was? At 20 years old, because like I said, I was married before I even left, college. I was married before I even graduated college. When I was in my 20s, I wanted to be out and about. I wanted to see and be seen and that sort of thing. And then when I hit 30, I'm like, ain't nobody looking, no, but and when I got about 30, it was like things started to, I was a mom at that point, and I still have a lot of living to do. I would love to be a mom again. But, even with me resigning, I was a councilwoman in Miami, and I resigned, and I'm just like, I'm okay. Like, I'm looking forward to retiring in Africa, which is what I always talk to Dinah about. Like, that's what I'm looking for right now. Like, I'm not looking for being zipping and zapping, and I'm not. So that was my mentality. I can't speak to what other ladies' mentalities are, but yeah, I wasn't interested in being a Susie homemaker at 20 to 26 years of age. That was not my interest at all.
So Cece, okay, so your man is taking care of everything, he's providing. Again, if we say we have children, what are you acquiring as far as assets with your money?
Okay, so like right now, for instance, online businesses are popping off, so that's probably what I would do more than
I'm sorry. What can our children inherit from your bank account or from whatever you're doing?
Wait, LLCs are an inheritance, Dinus.
But okay. I mean,
I have 3 businesses, and my children are the managing representatives on 2 of those LLCs. That's an inheritance.
I hear what you're saying. That just depends on if the business does well. But I hear what you're saying. Cece, what assets or inheritance are you going to leave for your kids?
Well, in terms of houses, cars, and all that, I can't answer that question because I don't know.
Okay, Cece, I think you're on here playing. So you're trying to tell me you're going to have a man provide for you and you're just going to take the money and blow it. Cece, you're playing around. Cece, you're playing around.
Email me. Dinus, can you drop my email, please?
Cece playing around. Cece playing around.
Because me and Cece need to have a conversation.
No, I need to see. This is what I need to bring Lou Major in here. So I need to bring Lou Major in here. That's what I need to do.
Cece, cam up.
I'm emailing Lou Major.
Cam up, Cece.
I'm emailing Lou Major. This is what I need to bring in Lou Major. Lou Major, if you out there,
don't bring in Lou Major.
But see,
Cece, cam up for me so we know it's real. Email me, girl. Let's connect.
I'll email you.
Email me, Cece.
Yeah, so basically all the work and then you just take your money and blow it. No inheritance or nothing for the kids.
No,
Courtney, come on. Courtney, don't defend his behavior.
No, I'm not saying.
Courtney, don't settle this.
Listen. Cece, first of all, Dinah. Cece, how old are you?
I'm 24.
See, that's what I'm saying, Dinah. These men, because Dinah, we talked about this. A 40 to 50-year-old wants Cece to have all of these answers. That at 24, honestly, that's just not our mentality. And I'm not a dumb girl. I'm not a dumb girl by any stretch. But in my 20s, it wasn't my mentality. I didn't want to. What I'm spending my money on. Let me show you what those inches do. That's what I was spending my money on. Let me get this bag. Louis just came out with the new Speedy. That's what I was on. You know?
Yeah, but in all actuality, I believe that old women who are like a little bit older, who come into who they are, that's when they probably were like, oh shoot, maybe I should have, stayed.
That's it. That's
gave it another chance.
Weren't we just having this conversation? Before we called, weren't we having this conversation? That's what I'm saying. Men want a woman to have that type of mentality thinking, but that's not going to happen in your 20s. It's just not. It's just not. But the main men that are complaining about women not having their, they don't have their shit together, but they want what they want. That's because they're looking at 20-year-olds. And that's nothing against Cece, because like I said, I'm being very honest. That's where I was. And that's why, a lot of the hypergamy conversations and, they're listening to a throng of women that either have not ever been married to a high value or a low value or any type of value man. But they're talking about fantasies. I'm telling you, we're real. I was married before I graduated college to a lawyer and a professor, and I still didn't get it until my later years. I remember our very first year, within the first 2 years, we were riding around Philly, and he was saying, "Hey, maybe we should get some of these buildings, because." Philly has they had a squatter law that a building had to be empty for 25 years before they could just, they could sell it. Yeah, 25 years. Philly don't play, y'all. You could go set up and shop in some place in Philly. And we were riding around and he had looked up a couple and he said, "Hey, we should buy this building." And I was like, "What? Let's buy this. This looks like a bunch of cracks. People doing crack in there." And he was like, no, it'll be up, soon. This whole building, we can buy for like a little bit of money. And I was like, I don't want that. And I was upset because I'm 23 years old.
Guys, hit that like button. And then again, if you want to call in, our email is uhuru at searchforahuru.com.
Thank you, Colson Nicholas. Yeah, I think we do mature faster in some other regards. some other regards, you know.
Again,
but I think also too, men, let's be honest, like we also had this conversation, Dinus, you know, the men y'all claim y'all want somebody who's you know, on top of their money situation and they got their head together and this and that. But then you'll go and impregnate Big Booty Judy.
you're right. Big Booty Judy.
And he'll do it with no question. And then you'll talk bad about Big Booty Judy.
I'm gonna see the link in a second. Guys, call in. I want to get some new people on here as well. Uhuru at searchforuhuru.com. Again, email me at uhuru at searchforuhuru.com. Uhuru at searchforuhuru.com.
I'm telling you, I cook and clean and all of that now, and I don't have no problem sitting still. You hear me? I just go out to work out. You know, listen, whenever I have to leave my house, I charge my client double, triple if I can get it, because I had to leave the house. You know, we in the midst of COVID. I don't want to go nowhere. So, you know, but that's a mentality that I had to grow into. I wasn't born into it. I wasn't born into it. And I'm not a stupid girl, but like I said, you know, we all get caught up with very materialistic, superficial things. And I think that when you're a female, it definitely is, you know, I think it's a little bit of a different pressure. I'm not saying it is more than what the men experience, because I'm not a man, but I'm just saying from a female point of view, it was just a little bit more of a pressure to, you know, because my family members would always ask me, well, aren't you afraid of, you know, one of those other lawyer girls stealing him? And so it would be like, you know, oh, no, I wasn't, but maybe, you know, maybe he's right. Maybe I need to, because he was always like, yeah, you know, we got to get that weave done. You know, make sure you get that weave done. Make sure you get that weave in.
Yeah, because I mean, I gotta watch my words. I'm not a fan of weaves.
Right.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
But he was definitely. And not for nothing, you know, he did remarry, just so everyone knows that he did remarry. And he remarried someone who's not Black.
How do you feel about that, Courtney? Him marrying somebody that's not Black?
You know, I used to feel bad about it because I really didn't want to feel like I'm ruining him for Black women, because he's a very quality guy. I mean, my ex-husband is super smart. You know, he, you know, like I used to tell him, you know, trust me, the reason why I wanted it so often was because he wasn't a bad lover, you know. You know, he's super smart, comes from a great family, and his family are all, you know, all of his family, you know, they're married people. So they're marriage minded, so to speak. So in the beginning, I was kind of hurting about that, because I was like, well, gosh, I really would have liked him to, you know, have married another, you know, Black person, but I didn't want to ruin it for other Black women. But now, you know, we've been divorced 8 years. You know, his wife, you know, treats my children okay, you know. So that's the only thing I can really ask for at this point. But in the beginning, yes, that was really difficult, also because interracial relationships are something that he was very vocal about speaking out against. He actually gave me Kobe Bryant's jersey, because when Kobe Bryant married Vanessa, he gave me his jersey. He was like, I don't want it no more. You can like him if you want to.
Guys, hit that like button. We have almost 400 people watching. Hit the like button again. Hit the like button. Does it cost you guys anything to hit that like button? And then one more time, Sierra Leone, April 21st to the 30th. Sierra Leone, April 21st to the 30th. Come and join us again. Come and join us. Tiffany Anderson says, men go off the deep end after being hurt. I think that goes both ways.
Yeah, it goes both ways.
That goes both ways.
It goes both ways.
Yeah, see, a lot of these things go both ways. It's just, I think sometimes, depending on who you're talking to, one party or the other doesn't want to take accountability. But that goes both ways.
I agree. I definitely agree. And you know, and you know what, I still email his mom. I still write letters to his mom. We still converse. And that's another thing too that I hurt so much about, because you know, his mom is just a beautiful woman. And I'm telling you, when it comes to that Susie Homemaker, Now she was married to his father when she was 16. He was 19, and this lady was like, she would make Claire Huxtable look like the mom from Precious. I mean, when I tell you this lady just never stopped, just cooking, cleaning the house, you could eat off the floors. It was a little bit of a pressure, when I was married. And in hindsight, I could see that I should have been learning from her instead of feeling like I was competing against her, So I still write her letters to this day. She sends beautiful, beautiful messages, beautiful letters for the children and whatnot. And I'm blessed to have had access to that type of family. That's what I look at now. I said, if my ex-husband in marriage didn't give me anything else, it gave me the audacity. I know that men out there do exist, men that provide, high value men that don't cheat, that don't call you out of your name, that are resourceful, come from quality, functional families. I know that Black men exist because I was married to one. And I know that good men exist because my dad was one. My dad married my mom when she had 3 children from a previous marriage. My dad had no children, had never been married before, bought my mom a house, put her up in that house. And, years later, my sister that precedes me and myself came. And I was almost 10 years old before I ever realized that my older siblings were from another father, And so, because my dad never made anybody feel like they were less than or not his, or he wasn't responsible for them. So I know that quality Black men like that exist. My brother's the only one of all my siblings that is still married to his first spouse, has 4 beautiful children. He's a very active, a coach up in, Illinois, an engineer. So, so that's why I don't get involved in a lot of the kind of gender disputes, because I know great Black men that exist. I have gotten kicked off of a number of divested channels when I start talking about
great Black men. That's
Black men. Yeah. Oh, they rubbed me through the coals with it. I'm a pick me, I'm a mule, I'm a whatever. But I'll be that because I know Richard Delancey. I know what my father did for me. I know what my ex-husband did for me. I know what my brother does for his wife and family. So, and even my siblings, their dad used to come pick them up so much. My mom got tired of me crying about that I couldn't go. And I would go with their dad to go to eat and stuff because, their dad was still very involved in their lives. So I know great Black men exist.
Real quick, Cece, thank you for coming on, sister. Thank you for coming on. All right, Cherry, go ahead.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
You're real low.
Hey, Cherry.
You're real low. You got to speak up.
Okay, is this any better?
I guess it works. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry.
It seems like
you're at your
job and it seems like you're at your job and you're whispering, but go ahead.
Okay, well, to be honest, hearing this conversation makes me extremely confused. To put it in context, I am in my 20s, so I'm very young. And one thing that I've noticed when it comes to a lot of the younger people in this country, Black or any other race, is that they really lack financial literacy. And it's at the point where when someone does earn a lot of money, they have absolutely no clue what to do with it, or they have no clue what a family structure is supposed to look like and how the money is supposed to contribute to it. And I'm saying this because when I grew up, as I was growing up as a child, I was getting messages like, okay, you need to go to college, get a good job, such and such, follow your dreams. My family was supportive. But then when I actually reached the age of ready to go to college, I started asking my parents about the finances, and they looked at me and they're like, oh, actually, you don't have a college fund. We meant to start one when you were a child, a baby. And I was so confused. And then, so I still got into college, but I started going to a community college because I was the one paying for it for myself. And I went to school. I was working while I was in school, paying for my classes um, as well as doing the classes. And to be honest, I was stuck on the fact that my parents didn't start a college fund for me, but they were telling me to go to college for uh, pretty much a decade. It still perplexes me to this day how this was ever even a thing. But then the more that I looked at my parents, it started making sense. Like my mother, she spent she's a professional working black woman, and she always has been. But she would spend her money on like Louis Vuitton, and we'd be renting apartments, which isn't a problem. But after I got after I turned into an adult, I started seeing strange financial behaviors. But now that I look at the black community, the black American community, I really think that we have no clue what financial literacy is supposed to be. Because if you, when I was, I think another aspect is that having a standard home where it's two parents and the father is working and the mother is at home, this is a little taboo within the black community. And I noticed this because this is something that I have always wanted for myself, but I've been afraid to state that because no one takes you seriously as a black woman when you're saying that you don't want to work because everyone is expecting for you to be this breadwinner person. But
It's true.
Well, breadwinner,
yeah,
but you got to get taken care of where you don't have to. You could, I don't know, do whatever you want with your bread.
No, and
I
you
don't.
know,
Yeah,
and let me clarify, and Cherry is right on the money, but let me clarify something in regards to that. And it's true because even I wanted to not have to work, but I just didn't want to be at home, and so my ex-husband said from day one, no, this is not that type of situation. You're going to have to work, at least until I get through law school. And I was like, that's the exact time that I didn't want to have to work. So, these were young conversations, but because I never, my mom and dad had financial conversations behind closed doors. It was never
yeah,
anything that they involved with, telling us, hey, this is what it is to send this or that child off to school. It was actually the sister that preceded me that let us all know how much they were paying for mortgage. And I remember everybody just being like, why would you tell us that? Like, why would you care? And she would be like, well, I'm just letting you know because my brother had gone to Carnegie Mellon, and
oh,
she
well.
said they're gonna have to they're gonna have to do some refinancing. They're gonna have to take out another loan to pay off the mortgage. So it's gonna be a slim Christmas. And I remember that was just such a horrifying conversation. Like, why would you tell us something like that? But this is the way my sister always thought. But the rest of us, and I'm the youngest, and this was the sister that preceded me. So even the oldest sister, no one, my parents did not have this conversation. Even my grandmother, the one that was the mayor, she was nearly a self-made millionaire. We didn't have these type of conversations. So when we inherited her money, like I said, it was really something how we went through that money, and it was a good deal. Now that I'm an insurance broker, absolutely, I see what I should have done differently, and I see this beyond. But even when I came into my alimony, I didn't invest. I mean, like I said, I'm an insurance broker now, but until you actually go through those financial literacy, you go through the workshops, you actually have it, because a lot of our Black people, they think of it that way too. That's the reason why, like you said, it's not just a Black person problem, it's a young people problem in general. That's the reason why when the lottery winners, how the rate that they squander away the money is because everyone thinks they're going to figure out how to deal with the money when they get the money. But if you don't, it says in scripture, if you don't master the little, you won't be made the master of many.
Right.
You won't be made the master of much, something to that degree. We have to do better as communities, and I've been a councilwoman, I've seen city budgets, community budgets, and it continues to blow my mind. I've operated, businesses myself where we just don't have those type of rudimentary fiduciary skills where we're saying this is how we're going to manage this. This shouldn't have to pay for itself. You can't pull this from here to pay for this. This should have to pay. This only goes here, But we do need to have those conversations as young as possible. That's why, like I said, my daughter's 13, my son's 11. They're both managing representatives on 2 of my businesses. They have, their own credit card. They're not able to spend it when they want. We have to put certain things on it. But I have none of my bills in my children's names. The LLC is in their name, but none of my bills in my children's name. That's also something that a lot of our households, not mine particularly, but a lot of our households.
That's ghetto as hell if you're doing that.
Yeah, a lot of households did that. And I didn't realize how prevalent that was, Dinus, until I was an intake clerk in Miami. I was like, wow, people really do that. Like a newborn. You have cable on a newborn. Yeah.
Guys, if you want to call in, the email is in the chat room. The email is in the chat room, uhuru@searchforohuru.com, uhuru@searchforohuru.com. Again, if you want to call in, send me an email, uhuru@searchforohuru.com, and I will send you the link.
And Dinus, please put my email out there for CC, because I got to talk to CC. CC was up here playing skip scotch.
Okay. Yeah. But hey, let's see. I want to get somebody else on. Hey, Ms. Sherry, did you get your question answered?
Yeah, that was pretty much all I wanted to say. Just highlighting the lack of financial education, I suppose, within the Black community and getting more insight. Because to be honest, I grew up not really interacting with anybody because I find people annoying. So I don't know fully what the average experience is for the like average American or average Black American. I am Black, I am American, but again, I spent all my time by myself.
Okay. Sister, appreciate you coming on. Thank you.
Yeah, very nice talking to you, Cherry. And you're absolutely right.
No problem. All right, Nicholas, go ahead.
Yeah. First of all, Sister Courtney, I just want to really thank you. Thank you for your honesty and and owning up to your wrongs in the relationship, as well. Um, I was gonna get into something, but maybe I'll double back to it. I mean, as far as my generation, I'm a millennial. I'm 26, right? And I was in a relationship for about like 7 years, right? We came out of high school, and then I was watching other cats being cheated on, things like that. And I was like, ooh. And my homeboy was like, you got a good one. I'm like, hey man, you never know. You never know. That was always my mindset. You know what I mean? And then we're she was about 2 years younger than me, but we're around the same age bracket, right? So then we ended up moving in together. I got us a place duplex actually. You know what I mean? At one point she needed a car, got her a car, you know what I mean? And then things just went south. It just went bad. You know what I mean? She started blaming me for things. And I'm like, man, this seems so familiar. Something ain't right. You know what I mean? So then come to find out, yeah, she was cheating on me. You know what I mean? Things like that. So then and that really like took me for a spin, and I wanted answers. You know what I mean? I wanted answers. I'm like, what the heck's going on? You said you wanted this, you said you wanted that, and he still went left field, you know what I mean? So I came here to say, like, a lot of women want to front and act like they want a good dude, but they don't even know what to do with the good dude. Or they want to act like, you know what I mean, that they're on their grind or they're ready for a serious relationship. They're not. Because this is the thing. So, like I said, I was in a relationship for 7 years. So basically 7 years I kept my nose clean and I wasn't really much of a cheater and nothing like that. that's just not me. You know what I mean? Things like that. But I would notice when I did start to talk to girls, getting out there, and I mean just talking, getting serious. But then I would realize like if I came off at them as if like I'm more of a street dude, which I'm not. But if I just gave that oral, she would let me hit it. She would let me hit it and then think anything of it and just keep it pushing. But then if she even felt that like I had my shit together, she would backseat me and then try to get more out of it, get a situation. Then that's where the problem I feel like really, really lies. Because I'm like, wait, that makes no sense. That's stupid. Because guess what? You're willing to sleep with the dude that if something goes bad, he probably cannot provide for you. And if there's gonna be an STD, you're probably gonna get it from that certain type of dude. You know what I mean? It's just like, and I'm sure if people want to be honest, I'm sure a lot of guys know what I'm talking about. Ladies, if you want to be honest, you want to own up to it, I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, I do feel like a large portion of women, they don't know what the heck they want, and they don't even know how to be wives anymore. That's the honest truth. You know what I mean? We do know that the male, has been absent in the household. We know how it happened, yada yada. Now, since then, and now it was true. It was true. Black men weren't doing what they're supposed to do. All that's true. But moving forward, especially today, that has become an scapegoat for women not doing what they're supposed to do in a relationship, for them not supposed to be bringing that feminine energy, right? Because a lot of these stereotypes, like black men don't take care of their kids. Now it's time for us to recategorize what that means, right? Because if you look at the numbers, it'll show black men spend the most time with their kids. So it raises a question like, lady, like, is he a deadbeat because he doesn't want to be in a relationship with you anymore? Is that what qualifies him as a deadbeat? Things like that nature. Or the fact that more black men are in college today than there were 20, 30 years ago. You know what I mean? And we're not at average, but for where we came forward as far as percentage wise, we've done a great leap. You know what I'm saying? But yet we have these ladies who's using that same old rhetoric, a scapegoat saying black men ain't shit, black men ain't shit, black men ain't shit. But then you look at the numbers just they don't even add up. And it's like they're using it as a way to like escape their roles in the relationship. And I want to go further to the fact of this. Like, ladies, if you're not
Nicholas,
serious.
Hey, Nicholas, I want to get some other people on here, brother. If you can, I guess.
Okay. Just like one or two more minutes. So what I wanted to say is this: like, all of our lives as black men, right? We hear that we're no good, we're cheaters, black men there's this, black men are this, black men are that. Cool. Now, when you get to that point, especially those of us who are good, probably me, Dynas, think he's a good guy with the ladies, but things like that, right? Now, when it goes south, like we take it really, really, really hard because we're already under pressure already. We already know about the negative stigmas about us. And now you just did us like foul. You know what I mean? So even my homeboy went through the same situation. He's conscious just like I am. And he's like, listen, I don't know how much I can take with these black women anymore. I think I'm gonna go white. That's what I wanted to say. I think that's it.
All right, Nicholas, you want to respond? Thank you, Nicholas, for
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it. Yeah.
No problem. All right, go ahead, Courtney. You want to respond to that? And hold on, let me get my disclaimer. Hold on, Lou Major.
Whoa.
Disclaimer, Lou Major. We're gonna be nice today.
Please.
Lou Major, we're gonna be nice today, Lou Major. We're
Actually,
nice.
you know what, man? This woman, Courtney, I have so much respect for you that I could never possibly say anything bad to you, man, because
thank you.
No, I gotta say something because I'm so used to a lot of women, not all, not taking responsibility for their choices and stuff like that. That to actually see a woman like just be honest, like, yo, I messed up, blah blah blah. Man, that's so new and rare that I got a whole lot of respect for you, man. I think that's an incredibly honor. Man, you got my respect. So I promise I'm not gonna be mean to you, man. I got good shit, man. I'm just honestly here to just say thank you. Thank you. I'm
thanking the Lord, because Lou, like, I appreciate you. First of all, thank you for saying that. But like I told Dynas, I've been, in conversations with men, and they'll say, I wish you would have just lied to me because you look like such a good girl. Like, I would have believed anything you told me about your ex-husband. And I was like, what would be the point in me lying? So please know that some men are out there telling these women, lie to me. You know, remember, your boy Carl Thomas had a whole song about it. Okay. You know, was that Carl Thomas the one, or Mario? What, the one that was on Puff?
Yeah, I don't
I
want to
don't
know if
wanna
you.
know if you
Yeah,
playing me, keep
the
it on
Sting
the
anthem.
low.
Oh, yeah.
A whole song.
Look, man. Look, again. I always say I don't put all of the issues on black women. I say all the time that.
And Lou, if I can interject,
They got issues, man.
Lou, we keep saying that, like we want men to hold ourselves accountable too. We know there are some
Yeah.
sorry dudes out there, but for some reason, when you come on, they completely
Look.
ignore
I
that.
don't know.
Yeah, I don't know why.
But here's the deal. The truth. When you're right, when you're telling the truth, no matter how much people might attack you, you will usually be proven right in the end. It sometimes just takes time. Like, for example, I've tried to jump on here twice to try to really kind of say this, right? And then I just get dogged and trashed and told I'm a terrible human being and all that good stuff, which is fine. But then this young woman comes on and she pretty much validates everything I've been saying all this time. And so I appreciate the honesty. It's so hard and so rare for women of any race to just be honest and tell the truth and take responsibility for their own actions. And to hear you say it, and to hear, for example, even CC come on here and keep it real too. I mean, I just think that that's cool. And there's a black female who is like a lawyer. She's like 36 years old, very smart woman. And she kind of got herself caught up in her prime years, being stupid like most young women of all races. Now she's in her late 30s and, all of that stuff. And I keep trying to tell, and she's come to the same epiphany that, Courtney has come to. And I keep trying to tell, you want to know what? I honestly believe that the real perpetrators, the real evil people are women in their 40s, late 30s, 40s. Those are the people who I truly believe are actual evil human beings. And I'm going to explain why. Not all of them, but I'm going to explain
Here we
why.
go, Lou, we got it.
No, not all of them. I'm going to explain why. Let me explain why. Let me actually clarify that before it gets mistaken. So like I'm going to use celebrities. I'm going to use like your Amanda Seals, your Angela Yee's, most of the people on The Real. Why? Because these women know that the advice that they're giving to young women will lead young women to a bad path. And yet they intentionally perpetuate bad advice onto young, impressionable women, knowing that it will derail them. And to me, that is pure evil.
But Lou, I don't think that's women my age doing that. I have seen more women in their 20s and early 30s telling women what they should be going for and looking for. And these women ain't never even been no part of marriage.
Here's what I'm saying. I believe, like, I'm gonna say this. All right, Angela Yee, I watch The Breakfast Club. I do. I mean, I try to stay up on black culture. Angela Yee, I don't know if she still has it, but I know at one point she did. Angela Yee, by the way, who is a 42-year-old black woman, never been married, and I don't think she has any kids. This woman, okay? She's got a whole dating advice section, I think, called Yeah, she's with The Breakfast Club.
Nobody be listening to Angela Yee.
Yeah, you know what? But they do. She's got an entire podcast, I believe, called Shit.
It's like lip service.
It's like lip
service. And all it is about encouraging young women to be hoes, pretty much. She's got like herself and like several promiscuous women, and they just sit there and they talk about.
But again, look at those women that she brings on. Those women are in their 20s. I'm telling you, younger women ain't listening to no women my age. They listening to women their age. They're listening to Megan Good and Cardi B. Excuse me.
I can't
Megan
speak
Thee
to.
Stallion and Cardi B.
Well,
They're
I
not
can't speak
listening
to.
to nobody above their age
When a man
because
can
that's
feel,
what young women do. They're not gonna. I was the youngest of 5, and I had 3 older sisters. My older sisters couldn't tell me nothing. But guess
well, then
what?
if what you're saying is true, if what you're saying is true,
True.
I think you might want to change the way that you said that because the implications of that statement are not good. Do you understand
No,
that?
but
That means you're
whether they're
saying that
good or
women.
not, it's true. Younger women are not being there. They don't want older women's advice because
that means you're
you know how many times when I was speaking out against WAP, I got told, "Oh, you need to just sit down somewhere. Nobody want to hear your story, because your WAP dried up."
Well,
This was about women in 20s.
Then if that's how women
They're
think,
not listening to nobody my age.
well, if that's how women in their 20s really think, like they really are like that, then you should understand. Then okay, here then we need to first of all redefine the scope of male protection, because that would mean that men not only should protect women from other men and external forces, it also sounds like it would require men to protect women from themselves. And if that's the case, then that would mean that patriarchy makes sense. And to a certain extent, women's choices should probably be limited because based off of what you're saying, it would sound like women aren't necessarily capable of making good decisions. That's kind of the implications of what you're saying.
It's where they're looking for the information. Listen, you know what? And I was talking with Dinus about this earlier. The biggest movements on let's just put YouTube as one particular social media forum, right? The biggest movements are not women led. They're still male led. Everybody, men and women, will listen to a man. Only women listen to other women. And then when you talk about older women, that demographic is even smaller. Women listen to each other, yes, but they listen to each other in each other's age group. There are not too many 20-year-olds talking about, let me see what my teacher thinks about this. No, they're gonna ask people of their peers. They're gonna ask their peers, hey, what do you think?
Then if that's the case, then it definitely sounds like, man, I really don't like that statement because the implications of it would mean that women kind of need to be repressed and oppressed a little bit and controlled.
Lou.
No, listen to what she just said.
No, I think that once again, because when you said, older women and the 40-year-olds, and I'm saying no, like literally both with Cherry and with Cece, they're about the same age group. I think Cherry said she was 26 in her 20s, and Cece said she was 24. Nicholas said he was 26. You understand? So, but Cece was the one who admitted that, yeah, we as young women, we're just spending our money on frivolous stuff. It's not the older women. And for you to when you sat up there and said, but you use Angela Yee, but you're talking about Angela Yee. She may be 42 years old, but the demographic that she is mostly speaking to, and I've worked in media, so I can definitely tell you, and I write, I'm still working somewhat in it, but the demographic that Angela Yee is speaking to are not 40-year-old women. Yes, she's speaking to 20-year-old women, and look at her guests. Her guests are in their 20s too. She has Cynthia on. She be having Megan Thee Stallion on. She's into a very foolish demographic because what does scripture even say? I should use foolish to confound the wise. So that's a big money market because they're very impressionable. So of course I'm going to try to appeal to the 20-year-olds and tell them, hey, go ahead and get your coins, girl. Get that up and listen to this and do that because hey, they're very impressionable. You're not going to do that to 40-year-old women plus women because they've come to their own, they've come to their understanding, they've come into some type of awakening, usually.
Well, if what you're saying is true, man, first of all, that's That's like really sad. But the second thing about that is that then what are we supposed to do here? Because I could say this to you. I need you to understand that the implications of what you're saying, right? You can't blame, because I'm a man, and what I can tell you is men almost seem to naturally look for older, stronger men. Okay. How do I know this? Jordan Peterson is the biggest thing smoking right now, who's an older white man. And why? Because we as men, we look for solutions. So like, what's the big thing about for male empowerment right now? It is men, young men looking for older men that you might call alpha males who are successful, who are strong, that they want to be like, and they try to learn from them. That's what I see men do. So my assumption always has been, and maybe I'm trying to learn at this point. I'm trying, is that women would do the same thing. Like you would look for
No, they
a
don't.
woman that you want to be like. But if that's
Because
not the case,
look at what
that's
society
crazy.
says about older women as opposed to what it says about older men. Men get better with time. They age like wine. Women hit the wall. So if women are listening to the same rhetoric, of course you're not going to want to listen to a female that's quote unquote hit the wall and her walk is dried up.
Okay, well, let me get this out. All right. Here's how we as human beings are inherently tribal, right? And how did a tribe function? And this is cross-racial. I'm keeping this non-racial for a very specific reason. In a tribe, for a tribe to function, everybody has to contribute to the tribe. If you do not contribute to the tribe, what happens?
The tribe dies off.
No, the tribe kicks you out.
Yeah, well, if you're not, you're kicked out of the tribe, but yes, if you're not contributing, then the tribe loses. Yeah, they lose out.
Yeah, and once you get kicked out, which in essence would mean you would probably die, get eaten by a bear or something like that. It's in our evolutionary DNA.
Right, because it's no group. Right.
Yeah, tribes became communities became civilizations, etc. Those very core tribal instincts stayed the same. And so the reality is each gender contributes something very specific and essential towards the progression of civilization, right? So let's start with men. Men contribute to civilization by their ability to produce and build things, to create things that were not there before are there because of their existence, right? So that's how we gain value. So what do we call a man who's not contributing to society? What do we call a man who doesn't, a lame, a bum, trash? We discard that person, and it doesn't matter what their circumstances are or why they don't have a job or whatever else. If you're not contributing to society in some valuable way, you are disregarded and you are not valuable, correct? Right? Correct. Because your contribution as a man, you're supposed to be producing and creating things, right? The woman's biggest contribution to society, irregardless of what she might wish it to be otherwise, but your biggest contribution to society is your ability to continue civilization, i.e., your ability to have children, right?
Yes.
So here's the facts. Women are born rich and die poor. Men are born poor and die rich. Why? Because when your youth and your beauty, which is connected to your fertility, is your value, right? So your ability to produce children, to continue civilization itself, is absolutely essential to the maintenance of civilization, which is why you get extra protection when you're young and you get special treatment in general, right? You get Gucci treatment for Walmart prices if you're a young, beautiful woman, because you're that valuable to society, because you are fertile, you can have children, and you have good genetics and good stock, because your youth and beauty represents good genetic material, good stock, and thus you are valuable. So just your sheer existence, just you existing as a young, beautiful woman, gives you inherent value, right?
Right.
However, with men, Our value comes from what we do and what we create, right? And so we have to compete with other men for the accumulation of resources, and we have to be better at it than other men. We have to, because our ability to beat out other men gives us the right to mate with you. It gives us mating rights, in other words, right? So by becoming the top dog male, by being the king of the castle, I get to have my choice of the best females, whether it be 1, 2, 3, whatever else. So you, as a female, kind of just get to sit at the finish line. We as men, we fight it out to get to the finish line, and then you fuck the winners, right? And so, because your objective is to fuck a winner, right? Your goal is to get the best possible man that you possibly can, so that you could be able to. Because
Lou, try to make this kid friendly, Lou. Try to make this kid friendly.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, this is a scientific thing. I'm trying to be so nobody can say I'm a sexist or anything. I'm trying my hardest to keep this scientific. A woman, when she comes out of her mother's womb, she has all of the eggs that she will ever have, ever.
Right.
Those eggs are very, very valuable. So her goal is to reproduce with the best possible man, right? So the way she assessed that is through dominance hierarchies and the ability for one man to dominate others.
Hey,
so
Lou, if I can interject. Now, I have to disagree with you on a point, because there are a lot of low value, I guess that's a new term, high value, low value, I guess it's a new term. There are a lot of men who aren't producing and creating, who are, getting their fair share.
Actually, let me say that particular syndrome, as you're speaking of, is very much exclusive to the Black community, and there's very specific reasons for that. Okay, so when we say that the Black community is mentally ill, this goes into another thing, in which case a lot of Black females, for one reason or another, Black American females, which is very exclusive to them, and I don't actually know why, are actually intimidated or afraid of competent masculinity. As in, when they come into contact with a man that they cannot control, cannot dominate, or cannot rule. Not all women are like this, but a lot of our sisters are like this. They actually are intimidated by that man and will actually intentionally choose lower value men who could provide them with sexual pleasure because they can control that man. And one of the key reasons that they do that is because
I think we really want both, though.
Well, yes, you obviously want good sex and all of that good stuff, but that's 3 to 5%. We
want to be. I think we want the power, but we also want to be able to feel as though, hey, this powerful man can be weak for me.
Right. In other words, but I don't know if you understand the implication of what you just said, but I'll help you out here. What you want is the man to go out and do all of the hard work to acquire the power, and then to give it to you without you actually having to do any work.
I don't think that necessarily we don't want to do work for it. I don't think so. I think that some of that gets miscommunicated or gets lost in translation. But I think that everybody's definition of it is something different, And I like to have these type of conversations because I like to look at things from what I call a prism perspective. You have to look at it from another angle. And I remember that song by Jay-Z that came out, can I get a what to all the and he said, if I were riding on a bus, would you still want it? Would you still put your 2 lips on it? Would you kiss it? And I remember at the time thinking, I would, but you don't want mine. you want Naomi Campbell, you want Tyra Banks, but I would. And so I think that sometimes in that men, they have it in their head, what type of woman should be willing to submit accordingly to their contributions or their status. And when it's not, when it's not that when it doesn't match up, so to speak, with what they imagine, then they talk bad about the ones of which they aspire to have submit to their type of to submit to their standards or their status. And I I think that 9 times out of 10, the like how when Lou Major when he first came on, he said this is the 40-year-old women. No, I promise you, I know too many 40-year-old plus women that we awake and we cool. We're understanding. We're glowed up. But it's the 20-year-olds that you want to think like a 40-year-old, but they're not. They're thinking like a 20-year-old, you know? So like I said, I don't think that it's a lack of women willing to submit. But what it is a lack of the type of woman that some of these men, most of these men want to submit, or who they think should be submitting. I say had, but he's still with us. Thank God. I have a cousin that used to always say to me, he wanted some quality, he wanted some quality girls, and he didn't understand because he said in California, he had access to, kind of like a plethora, like a whole stable of these thoroughbreds out in California. But over in Florida, he doesn't have that same type of access. And, I can't speak to the quality of women that were on the West Coast as opposed to the East Coast. But what I would tell him is that the places that he was going to get these women has changed. When he was over in California, he was in college. So he was on college campuses and he was talking to the college girls. But over in Florida, no longer in college, he's at the club. The scenery has changed, not the ladies. The scenery has changed. And so I always like in my conversation to this, I used to tell them, you can't pull up to a gas station trying to get your meal up for your steak dinner. The only thing that gas station can do for you is give you a direction to a restaurant or the grocery store where you need to go to get your items for your steak dinner. So we have to stop just thinking that, it doesn't matter because you pulled up to the grocery store or the restaurant and the gas station in the same car. The people within those establishments are different. The ingredients are different. The inhabitants of those places are different, but you still in the same car. Okay, right. So we've just really got to start looking at this from some different perspectives. And like I said, it may be coming out of the comfort zone, for a long time, I just thought, okay, I'm not going to date, more than, what did I say? I used to say 5 years up, 5 years back, 7 years up. But now I've had to move that a little further up. So I think that we have to revisit. We have to revisit our expectations. The first thing our therapist told me when we went to couples counseling, when we went to therapy, throw expectations away because expectations are preconceived disappointments. Let me say that again. Throw your expectations away because expectations are preconceived disappointments. So whatever you thought how a marriage is supposed to be, how a man is supposed to be, how a woman is supposed to be, you have got to toss that out the window if you want to make relationships work. And that's a part of the work. That's a part of the work. I'm told every day that my mouth is too crass for being celibate. I'm told that quite often. It's because I'm celibate means that I can't talk about the sex that I used to have and enjoyed and talk about what I'm going to enjoy when I have it again. But that does not change the fact that, yes, honey, there has been nothing entering this for 6 years now. But people have the expectation. And when someone has not been married or what have you before, no matter what age that they are, they're expecting for someone to come into an idea or understanding or an agreement within that marriage or within that relationship with the same type of mentality or idea that they have for it. And the fact of the matter is that they probably don't. You know, they probably don't. They might have been raised on Love and Hip Hop, and you were raised on the Brady Bunch. You know, it's just two different dynamics. So I see a sister is on, so I'm gonna be silent. I see sister is on here. Let me mute myself.
All right, go ahead, Fafa Mal. We can't hear you. You gotta unmute yourself.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me clearly? Because I don't have my my
we hear
earbuds
you.
in. Okay. I always have to wait so long to get on Dynasty, and people tell me I talk loud. I'm long because I got points from the beginning. But staying true to how I usually do the topic. The question was posed to me once upon a time, you know, based on the topic. And the first thing that I said, because I was made to know that when the question is asked to other women, they're not saying it's because of sex or abuse or anything like that. And so what could it be? And the first thing I said was because people keep entering relationships as a source of income, strictly as a business. I mean, marriage, yeah, it should be a partnership though. And I said this the other night. But business as in just one person cashing in. Often what is happening, and this again is white supremacist culture, you know, I get confused when I think about, I'm not confused, but it bothers me when I think about a feminist in a relationship with a man, because I'm like, so what are you with him for? You know, so to me, those are the type of women that get all they can out of the man. And when he's no longer of value or service the way that they want him to be, then he becomes discarded. He's disposable. A lot of it was the WM's way, kind of. There still is. They're very smart. We see it happening with our athletes and WMs quite frequently. It's very obvious for anyone that's thinking straight to be able to see that these women are, you see our men as an investment. You know, you carry him, you support him, you play the role, you stick with him, whatever, up until a certain time. Have 2 kids at least, one at least. That way, when you're tired and you want to move on to the next one, you feel like you've inherited all that you know, invested into. Not only do you get to have alimony, where you rake them dry, but then you get to get child support for 2 children. You know, you get to drag him through the mud because you never meant anything to you much to begin with, because you married for money. You know, so to me, I feel like, you know, the reason why women are posed, you know, are, you know, they're going for marriage, they want marriage, but they're the ones initiating divorces the most. It's because we don't value marriages anymore. That's the thing about the Western world too, though. What I noticed here in Africa is you don't have to be married. If a woman wants money, she's just gonna tell you, I want money. I want money. I need to get my head on. Where's my money? Once you're with her, once you're dating her, whatever. You know what I'm saying? So marriage and relationships are looked at different. And that's not all women. I'm speaking for some. But and then, you know, the men over here, they know, well, they're supposed to know that you know, if you're in a relationship and you're playing your manly masculine role and she's being her natural feminine self, whether she has a job or not, they take care of the women for the most part. Men who haven't been indoctrinated by Western ways, you know, and the church and whatnot. And I mean, pause there. But really and truly, I have to agree with what you said. Well, to an extent, I'm a little baffled, sister. But again, this runs into, you know, the hair, the weave, the makeup, the nails, the this, you know, yeah. So it's like, what is a woman value more? Those things. Therefore, because, you know, media tells us that we have to have these things. Media tells us that we're not beautiful unless we have them, or we just need to look like the white woman or the non-black woman. Therefore, these things are very important because we hate ourselves too, and so that becomes an ongoing expense. So she needs someone that can, you know, that can attend to her expenses. So again, it's business without love. And to me, that's why it's like now we've just been, and that's that whole feminist white supremacist thing. Again, it's the same old story, same old story. Uh, Otherwise, if you're not being abused, if you're not being sexually harassed or overworked, and if it's not issues of morale, if you didn't do some bad, some terrible stuff to your children, then why are you divorcing rather than working on the marriage? It's easier to just, and I'm not speaking to you directly, sis, I'm talking about in general and the topic, you know. Um, but I think it's sad. It's a disgrace because then we turn around and say, "Oh, they're not good men," and men don't want to get married. So we always say they don't want to marry us. They don't want to marry me, and they keep telling us why. You know what I'm saying? And we do the same thing. But this is one of the reasons why men want to be loved as well. They need affection. They want to feel. They need to feel appreciated. They need to know that they're serving a purpose more than just helping you to look pretty. And I feel like when women invest more into the relationship instead of just laying on her back and looking pretty, when she's put hard work into the relationship, when she's showing up for him and playing her supportive role and going hard for him, not just showing up at the game or wherever looking pretty, then I feel like that woman will invest more into keeping a marriage rather than going for the divorce. But again, it's not, the way the world is going right now, marriages are just another long-term investment, and they devalue, they depreciate once you go in there for an investment. They could go up, but there is a time. So there's either some life insurance taken out, sometimes something's always, when you go in a marriage with that mentality, again, it just further proves that it's learned knowledge from the other folks, not our folks. And if to me, I have 3 sons, and I'm gonna tell every one of them, you don't trust a woman like that. A woman like that will kill you, especially if she realizes that this man is protecting himself.
All right, let me.
I'm sorry.
I'm gonna say,
Yeah,
Linnell,
especially if he feels.
Yeah.
One second, if possible. Linnell, you respond to that.
Well, I want to say hello. How's everyone doing today? Thank you for having me on the show, Dinus.
Everybody's good. I got little feedback. Go ahead.
In terms of the initial question or the initial topic of the show, women want to be married, but they're initiating divorce at a higher rate. I do agree with that because statistics show that. We're applying traditional marriage to a capitalistic environment and to a Western world, and it doesn't vibe most of the time. Most of the time, we see that most of the time it doesn't vibe. We say we want men to do traditional things. We want men to provide. We want men to go out and work these long hours. We want men to provide in a society that you need to make a large amount of money in order to live a lifestyle that a lot of women expect. And that's from the beginning, from the jump, that's a setup for disaster. I've been married. I'm 38 years old. I've been married and I've been divorced. Divorce is horrible. Horrible. I wouldn't, how when people say, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, I would not wish that on nobody. It's horrible. I was sit in the courtroom and you see how the stenographer, it feel like the stenographer, the judge, your lawyer is against you. It is horrible. I've seen people in court in handcuffs over $130 in arrears in child support. That the court is like that. It's ruthless. So when people get married, I don't think they understand that, hey, what am I getting married for? when people say, I've heard people say, hey, I'm getting married because we've been together for X amount of years. That's not a reason to get married. She's right. Marriage is more of a business in this country and in other Western societies. It is. I cannot talk about my divorce on with no one because if it's found out, I could be sued. It's that serious. The child support is real. The alimony is real. Thank God I don't have to pay alimony, but everything is real. So learning, especially in the Western societies, having a therapist to see why you want to get married before going through therapy as to marriage counseling before you get married is something real. Men, especially men, need to know the pitfalls and the minefields that are out there during marriage, the expectations. Don't assume, hey, she, she's gonna cook for me. Don't assume that. Don't assume nothing. You need to sit down at the table and understand, hey, what do we expect from each other? Because it's rough. And on top of that, I I do get irritated when women say, oh, they want men to be traditional. And that's fine. Okay, that's fine.
What do you
But
mean by traditional? You mean providers? Is that what you like? What do you mean?
yeah, they provide, go out work, pay all the bills, give her money to do what she wants to do. Um, if the kids want to go to soccer practice, pay everything. Make sure the family is straight. College college is paid for. Food. Make sure that if we need to go to the grocery store, we can go just off the whim. Oh, I need to go to the grocery store, or we need to go to the movies. Anything. A lot of things that talk about being provided, men being providers have to do with money. So what irritates me about it is when they'll say, okay, women need to provide. Okay, fine. But they want to be quote unquote modern women where they don't need to do any of the traditional things women have done. And that's when heads.
Hello? Hello? I think the brother froze up. Courtney, you want to respond? Courtney? You're mute. You gotta unmute yourself, Courtney. Courtney, you gotta unmute yourself, Courtney.
Can I say something while she really quickly?
Yeah, go ahead.
Ernest? Brandon is being despicably rude and disrespectful. I don't know what it is he has against me, but you're proving my point when I said that both men and women, the so-called African American men and women have both been traumatized, and our reactions
Right.
are telltale signs of that. You please stop. He's sitting there saying I keep spewing venom and all of these negative things. Like, how am I spewing venom? Stop insulting people and stop insulting me, please, because I don't even know where you're coming from with that. But I would just, I would just relax on that. It's not a good example for the Black men that we want to see. You see, you throwing all of this stuff out at me and other women, but I'm telling you that, you're not an example of the type of man that women are complaining that they don't have, even though they have to take responsibility for, their half of it. But, I don't condone dissing women like that. Not the way that you're doing it. Speak your mind, say what you have to say, but speak from facts, and then get the brothers to back you up.
Right. Okay. Courtney, go ahead.
Thank you so much, and thank you again for stating that. The thing of it is that every time when someone comes in and they say women, like a little wince goes off in me, because here I am. I'm a woman, born with all of my female parts. Hello. And I've said, hey, I know that there are good men out there to be examples. This is why I'm not this is why I'm not a jaded person. You know, though I had a very quality marriage, my engagement was not of the same caliber. You know, the gentleman was addicted to porn, wouldn't admit that he was addicted to porn, addicted to pork also, you know, which was another issue. Saw no problem with you know, just the occasionally smoking weed and what else. And that wasn't a very high lit, a very quality relationship. But at the same time, I still learned something from it. And also, I still learned something from him. I learned how to be a better listener. You know, that was something that I had not had to exercise as much in my marriage, or I hadn't exercised it as much. It wasn't a skill set that I valued when I was married. So, you know, but, and I talked about my brother, and I talk about my son, and I talk about, you know, other just quality, high value, quality Black men. But whenever a Black man, we start right again with the women. You know, it's general. We need to definitely eliminate it. You know, that was something
Courtney.
that
Now, me and Lou Major have been very, very, very specific on how Black men have dropped the ball. Like, I mean,
wait, it's not about dropping the ball. I'm talking about when you say women, like Lou Major said, 40-year-old women they were basically like the demons of society. And I'm like, hey, that includes me. I'm a 40-year-old woman, the same woman that you just said, hey, thank you for being accountable. I'm not going to say anything bad about you. That, and it may not be about me specifically, but that is still a group of which I belong. And when I, you know, provided the prism perspective, which is like what I like to do, and I say, hey, turn it around and look at it here. Yes, this may be a woman my same age, literally, but she's talking to a demographic of 20-something-year-olds. And I can tell you from also being a content creator, a lot of 20-year-olds are talking to each other. And when a 40-year-old tries to interject, we get, you know, called all types of past our primes and this and that. And the conclusion was not, okay, maybe we need to start engaging with more conversation with these, you know, 30, 40-year-olds. It was, well, let's just repress the women. Like, that's not the solutions. You know, that's not the solutions, because once again, it's the category of which you thought you should be most likely to have this access to. When you don't have the access to them in the way that you wanted, it's not at that point proper, in my opinion, nor is it beneficial, in my opinion, to now you dismiss the ones that are in front of you, the ones that would put two lips on a wood and kiss it, in regards to talking about bad about the ones that you wanted, you know. So it may not be it may not be the ones that you want, but that does not mean that there's not something that is still valuable there. That does not mean that there's not something to be learned from that situation. There's not. That's to say that maybe we have to start looking beyond our comfort zone. Maybe it is going to be revealing some vulnerabilities. Maybe it is going to be revealing some insecurities, but it's still a worthwhile consideration, as opposed to just, let's just dismiss everybody because the ones that I wanted may not be reacting to me in the way that I think that they should. And I see
Courtney,
we have moved back and another brother, Kofi, here, so I'm going to yield the mic.
Yeah. Lou, let Kofi speak first. Kofi, go ahead, Kofi.
You got it.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kofi. What's up, Omega? Courtney, what's up, Lou Major, Prince Dinus, and Io. You know, I'm from Harlem, New York, born and raised, and I was born to you know, get women. You know, as soon as Me Too came in, I started becoming this like more gentle guy. I noticed that being a nice guy doesn't get you any respect from women. I've come to the conclusion that, you know, I need to move to Africa I bought some land in Ghana. I'll be in Ghana November 1st. I came to this conclusion because I feel like our society is like an ultra super capitalistic, degenerate Solomon Gomorrah type ran nation. And I feel that being we're almost like food to the system. You know, the more we divorce, the money goes to these lawyers. The money goes to like having separate households, which is to mortgages, and that's all going into taxpayer dollars to go into the war industrial complex of the United States. So these systems are purposely put in play for these nations, these European nations, to be parasites to Black people. Now, I'm saying specifically to Black people because no one no one procreates as much as we do. We are natural breathers, and we are natural laborers because we come from a landmass that is rich in natural resources, and where our melanin is so strong that we're just this dominant force. And the other nations, the other subhumans, they're just parasites to us. How did this happen? It's just a cycle, and I feel like it's gonna just return back to us. Now, I just want to get to some solutions. I see a lot of sisters aren't getting married, and I see a lot of them going over to Africa, and they're finding these men who have land. Now, they're coming from a system called the kinship system. It's when the elders put enough resources for their daughters and for their sons to then take on a mate, and then to have an heir, have a couple of heirs, and raise their children for a better nation. Why are Africans going to the West? I don't know. I just know that shit's gonna change now because the technology that's coming out now is enough to then mass produce for ourselves, to manufacture products, and they pretty much use our blood sweat. They use our resources, and to try to kill us. But it's having a reverse effect. Now, the white nations, their birth rates are below replacement rate, which is 1.9, and ours is still steady at 5.0. We keep on valuing ourselves with the king's money, with our oppressors' money. Now, these systems are purposely put in place so that if we take their money, then we become debt slaves to them. And what gives value to money is our belief in their money, and that's what makes us stuck to the system, and that what drives a lot of the diaspora out of Africa, brain drain them out of Africa and into the United States, or into places like Europe. Now, once I figured this out, once I lived in LA, I chased this Zimbabwean girl. I told her, like, hey, you have land, you come from farms, you have a lot of
Oh,
natural
Kofi, brother, Kofi,
resources.
Kofi, we gotta like get on.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Come on, man.
I just want to conclude and say that go back home. We have way too much value, but we're already winning. We don't need their money. We just need purpose, and that's all I wanted to say.
Okay. All right, brother. We appreciate it, man. Appreciate it. Thank you, Kofi. Thank you, brother. Thank you. So Lou, okay, this is what we'll do. Lou, go ahead and respond to Miss Courtney, and then if Fafu allow, I'll let you make a last statement. Then Miss Courtney will go ahead and close out. All right, go ahead, Lou Major.
I think, Courtney, I definitely understand your perspective in the sense of you saying that a lot of men have the desire for young, beautiful women, and and we want them to have a certain mindset and have a certain viewpoint. And when they're not like that, we are disappointed. And I think the solution you might be headed towards is saying that maybe those men should, instead of looking for those young, beautiful women, might want to look for um, women who might have a little bit more experience, maybe a little older, who have learned, who have matured, who have learned um, the value of what those great guys have. So before I comment, I want to make sure that I understood what you're saying. Is that what you were saying, Courtney?
Oh, I think she hung. Oh, I think she accidentally disconnected herself trying to unmute herself.
Okay, I'm
Well,
gonna I'm gonna for a moment here assume that that's what she was saying, unless she corrects me. I'm gonna say kind of two things here. I know, and I think we all know, that in different nations and different societies, and even in within the Western society, in a different time, women weren't this way, right? And certainly aren't that way. If you go to other parts of the world, Africa being one of them, but just in general, different parts of the world, women are young and they are not, um, you know, I guess that I don't know what the word is, but that way, right? Um, what I would say, and I think that what we have to understand is, I think a woman who gets to say her late 30s, 40s, and beyond, and is still single, not all, but a majority of them will probably be more mature, in a sense, to a certain extent. They'll have other problems, but they'll certainly be more, at least, understanding and valuing of a man, because at this point they have learned the hard way, the value, what it's like to not have a man. But the problem is, if you're a guy who has and does worked his ass off to get to a certain position in life, to build himself up to a certain place in life, I think it's very challenging, maybe even slightly offensive, to tell that man that he should now take you at your advanced age and your lowered fertility levels and deny himself the chance to push his legacy. Like, how do I say this? Like, a lot of times the women who would, for example, not have an issue with submission, as you say, in today's society, and would, for example, I guess, value and appreciate I guess you could say, a good man, are usually going to be, certain types of women. And I'm trying to word this, they might, and not always, but they might be, single moms. They might, be older. And for me, I think that is not, I don't think that that's a viable solution. What I do find that is interesting, though, is if younger women are only talking to other younger women in terms of what they should do with their lives, as in they're just literally seeking the advice of people who don't know to get advice in life, which is, to me, bizarre. If women are really doing that, then I wonder if that might be an indicator that maybe we as a society might have to expand what protection means, in the sense that maybe we might want to protect women to a certain extent from themselves for an extended period of time until they get to a certain place, maybe in their 30s, in their 40s, that they might be better equipped to, at that point, make better decisions. Not that I'm saying like we should, entrap women or anything like that, but I'm saying it appears that women in their 20s, when during the prime years of their life, when they are most valuable to society, seems to be in a situation where, if not properly guided and protected, will squander their their wealth. Because the saying goes, women are born rich and die poor, because you are born young and beautiful, and then you die old and unbeautiful. And men are born poor but die rich, because as we mature, as we acquire more wealth, power, and status, we become more valuable to society over time, which makes sense. But if that's the case, then what might be required is, maybe society should maybe protect women from themselves and their own, and prevent them from making bad decisions that could give them negative outcomes later, such as getting pregnant out of wedlock, or choosing the wrong guy, or ruining a good relationship, or the many myriad of things that seem to happen. I'm wondering if maybe that might be the best thing for women based off of the results we're seeing. Because we seem to be pushing for like more female liberation, more women in charge, more giving women more responsibility and more power. But from this conversation, it seems like the responsibilities and power that women have today is not being well managed. So why would we give women more responsibility and more power? Doesn't it mean that maybe we should consider giving women less responsibility and less power until such time that they might be older to be able to handle such responsibility and power? Like, for example, Courtney, don't you kind of wish that when you were screwing up, when you had a good husband in your 20s, that somebody slapped you in the face and said, "Sit your ass down and stop"?
No, not little, not
They
little.
they
That's
they
why.
tried to. To
You know
his
what?
to your point, they tried to. I was not listening. I was
Right,
like
but
these older.
if you didn't have a choice, like if society did not give you the choice to make those decisions, don't you
If
somewhat
I
wish?
didn't get the choice, I don't
Like,
know, but I had older sisters and I had friends, that were a little older than me that were like, "Hey, you didn't, you weren't there when I called the other night. Where were you? Why weren't you home?" And I was like, mind your business. I'm
so I
out
mean,
here
the reason
doing
you
what I
felt like
do.
what I'm saying, Courtney, is you were able to say that to them because there was nothing that they could literally do to stop you from making that bad decision. What I'm
Right.
saying is, do you think that you would have been better off, Courtney, if there was something that they could have done legitimately that would have been socially acceptable to prevent you from making such a bad decision?
Yeah, but what do you mean? Like they would vapor act me? Like, what could have kept me from going out into these streets?
Well, in some communities, and a lot of them are African, ironically enough, they'll literally say you can't leave your house and will not allow you to leave your house. Sit your
So
ass
like
at
Black
home.
Snake Moan, like Samuel L. Jackson and Christina Ricci me.
I don't know because I don't know what that
You didn't
I
see that
actually don't know what
movie?
that is.
It's
I
a
don't watch.
great movie, and it was right
I,
on time.
I have
Yeah.
no idea, but I don't want to say yes and then it's not that. So
Okay.
I need some context. But literally, like,
Yeah,
man,
that definitely would have helped. That definitely would have helped a great deal. Absolutely.
because I think that it sounds like when you were younger and you had I mean, I'm not saying you're ugly now because you're not. You're a beautiful woman. I need to, but you were probably more attractive when you were younger, of course. And when you had your youth, your beauty, your fertility, when you were most valuable to society, you, in essence, squandered it. Not because you're a
Right. I
bad
wasn't
person.
treating it like it was valuable though.
Right.
Yeah.
And so,
But you know what? Let me tell you this too though, Lou. What you're saying right now, men 20 years old aren't saying, "Hey, you're in the most valuable time of your life." No, you know what they were telling me then? "Girl, you not fucking? Girl, girl, what you doing?" When I got married, because again, I got married before I graduated college, there were so many men and women in my 20s that were saying, "If you're not pregnant, why you getting married? What?"
but who cares? But that's not relevant. Your men in their 20s, they're probably just trying to smash, and
Of
we're just
course. So, but
right.
see, that's
So
what I'm
that's
saying.
what I'm saying
I'm
is
saying
that
the same thing that you're saying. That yes, you're absolutely right. Even though I would like the scripture tells us our best years are ahead, not behind. I would like to think I am in the best. I know I'm in the best shape physically than I've ever been in my life, even before having children. But what you're saying, the mentality talk, that wouldn't have done anything on a 20-year-old, because guess what? At 20 years old, I'm listening to other 20-year-olds. I'm not.
Right, and that's why I'm saying that maybe
they're not saying, "Oh, you're in the most beautiful time of your life." They're saying, "We gotta use it or lose it." You
Right.
only live once.
And I guess what I'm saying is that maybe if what you're saying is true, I want to, and I know there's going to be some feminists on the chat saying that you just want to enslave women or whatever. But what I'm saying is that maybe the best thing for young women is a limitation of their choices so that
I
they
think
are
the same thing,
presented, right?
but you have to look at that for the men too. I
There
think
already is
for
a
the
limitation
men,
for our choices. If we fuck up, we go to jail for an extended period of time.
not for fucking over females and getting notch posts,
Well,
not getting a notch in your post.
If a man gets a woman pregnant, and and he is going to be chained to that forever. I mean, there are very, very severe consequences for men when we fuck up. Like, I'll give you an example.
Here in US,
Hell yeah!
no.
It's called the child support court. It's
Because
called the family.
child support system.
No, but
Let's
I'm
get
saying
this
that a
straight.
lot of you know what the average, you all know the average amount that a person gets for child support, and you know how
Okay.
many men just
The
never
number.
listen. Like I said, my
Don't
ex-husband's
do
a
that,
lawyer.
Courtney. Courtney, don't do this. Don't do this.
Hey,
Don't do
Let her
it.
do it.
You've been doing so well.
Let her do it.
The number's
Lou, let her do
20%.
it.
Come on,
Lou,
Courtney.
let her
Come
do
on,
it.
don't do
Lou, Lou, I'm about to mute you. Let her do it. Let her do
Lou,
it.
Lou, let me just get this one point out, because we're going to talk about the fact of what the child support pays. But like I said, my ex-husband was a lawyer and I was an intake clerk. Okay. You know how many women just do not file child support compared to what they're even getting when they do.
Oh, hold on,
and that's
Courtney.
the reason why a lot of women don't.
Courtney, I think I got an answer for that, Courtney. Now,
okay.
The women I know who I've asked, did they put their child's father on child support? They said no. And the reason why is because dude was dusty and they weren't going to get any money anyway. From my experience. So
and then you know what the average pay is of child support when they do get it ruled by the court? $40.
Okay, but Courtney, here's the deal.
So who running that down, Lou? Lou, who running it down? I'm gonna yield the mic. I'm gonna put myself on mute. Just go ahead, Lou. But who running it down? Because I wouldn't.
I love you so much, man. I love you so much. You are a gift to the Black community. I love you so much. But I gotta say this to you. The reality is the number is 20%. So obviously, if the dude's some dusty dude who's not making any money, 20% might be $40 a week. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? But what I'm trying to get you to understand is she can file for more child support if that man ever pops off. You understand? If he don't pay that, if he loses his job, he could go to jail. It is a lifelong. For 18 years. That brother is chained to that situation. And let's just keep this real, right? For you as a woman, when it comes to getting pregnant, first of all, you have over 33 different forms of contraception. Then if you still get pregnant, you exclusively and only you get to choose if that child ever even comes out of your womb. At the same time, I as a man, the moment you get pregnant, I have no choices. I am financially liable for that child, whether I like it or not, and I am completely at your mercy. And I have one form of contraception, you got 33. So the reality is there are severe consequences to men when we fuck up, and there's no mercy. And that's okay. I think that's good. I think there should be consequences. It's also one of the reasons why I believe over time men become more, I don't want to say capable, but men end up having different approaches to life than women because of the fact that we are forced to be held accountable our entire lives about everything by society in general. Okay, there's a song actually that a rapper T.I. made with another rapper called Big Crit called Big Bank, and T.I. has a line in it. He says, my wife doesn't eat excuses. My children don't care about my excuses. If you ain't producing, you're useless. Which encapsulates very well exactly how men feel and how society views men. If you don't produce, you are useless, and society will tell you so, and women will say it. That's why women will say, 98% of men are useless.
And Lou Major, real quick on the, I think the Godfather, they said women and children can make excuses, men can't.
Women and children could be reckless, men can't.
Right.
And sometimes, like the fact that you, Courtney, at 40 years old, as smart as you are, actually feel that that men and women are comparable in terms of our plight only shows
No,
your incredible
I
amount
didn't
of
say
focus.
comparable. I said that what we have same situations that we need to look at from both sides.
Right.
And there are plenty of men that have make the decision every day, Lou, to not honor a woman that's pregnant from them. There are plenty of men that make this decision every
and I
day.
think that's wrong. I'll also say, first of all, I think that's wrong. I'll also say two things. A lot of times those women choose those men, and they knew that those men were like that before they started, doing the deed with them. That's one. And two, you also have to understand that from the perspective, a lot of times it's more complex than that. Like, for example, I know of a lot of men, yeah, he got the girl pregnant. He was wrong. He needs to step up and take care of that child, right? He definitely does. But he was never in a committed relationship with that woman. And he told that woman that, I don't want to be a father. I don't want a relationship. I don't want anything serious. And that woman will either intentionally or even unintentionally get pregnant, and then will subsequently use that pregnancy to, in essence, try to force that man into a relationship. That happens, and it happens a lot. We don't want to admit it, but it does. And what I'm simply saying to you is, based on, we're not here to talk about male toxicity or female toxicity. I'm really just interested in trying to fix all of this. And from what I can tell, it's starting to become fairly clear to me that women need protection, but it's protection extends beyond just protecting them from other men. It also sounds like we as men have to protect you from you, because it seems like without that protection, without the limitation of some of your choices, you will squander away the most valuable thing you have. I know a lot of women want to believe that if you're smart enough, and your smartness and your femininity and your spirituality is like super valuable. It is. But what's the most valuable thing you have is your fertility. It's your fertility. And your womb.
Lou, let me Fafa Malal. Let me get Fafa Malal, and then we'll get you again, and we'll let Courtney close out. All right, go ahead, Fafa.
Go ahead.
Is it okay? I agree with that point about fertility, because men like to be able to know that they can continue their bloodline on and their last name. And if they're particularly impressed with their own genealogy, then that's something that is inherently, present in Black men. It's a normal thing, just like Black men desiring to have more than one woman. It's natural. It's actually encoded in the genetic makeup from ancient times. But no, in all honesty, I would like because this is a part of the problem too. I would like to dialogue with Brandon, or for Brandon to come on. You know me, I'm not a combative dynasty.
We could do another show. It got to be another, because I have a call that I'm an hour late for. I'm in that. I'm gonna end this at right.
No
so
problem.
another day.
No problem.
Another day. I'll go ahead.
No, that's fine. That's fine. And I'm just, what he's saying would be relevant for some and not for others, but it's okay. So I think I said what I wanted to say earlier, as far as why women are petitioning for divorces at a higher rate. They never went in with the right intention, I think. And then, when the value, when there's a problem financially, or, if the man wasn't all they thought they would be, or they didn't live up to the performance, what they thought they were investing in. And then oftentimes they rack in and say, okay, he's at his prime now. Now's the time to get him. It doesn't matter how, so that's just what I feel like. Too many women enter into marriages as a source of income, or as an investment, monetary investment.
Yo, somebody needs to marry this woman. You are brilliant. Somebody needs to go ahead and marry this woman. You should not be married. You should not be single for more than 6 months. You are very hard to find. Somebody marry this woman, please. Just wanted to go ahead and say that. And marry this woman, please. I'm sorry, I already have 3 wives. I don't have any room, but somebody marry this woman. Please, someone marry this woman. This woman should not be single. Thank you. I just wanted to quickly say that. Just big up in you. I'm big up in you. I'm big up in you. Somebody, please marry this woman.
Lou, the other night I addressed, thank you for the compliment, by the way. I really appreciate it. Um, and that is humbling. But what I said the other night, remember, I said people always saying, well, why are you single? And I mean, it's the reality. I can't hide it from any man or whatever. You have to accept what I come. I have 4 children, but people always say, why aren't you married? And like Dinus had to call out, say to our brother Brandon, you didn't know that she was married. Now, the reason why I'm single now, to sum it up, without disrespecting or dogging anyone that I've had a relationship in the past, I'll just say that, I see a lot of admirable men out there, men that I really honor, and, they have, certain masculine qualities that I would be looking for. But they're either not available, the so-called, I'm not tooting my horn because I question myself a lot. I'm the so-called too good to be true. And because there's so many women out there that do the I'm every woman, because they figured out what it is that guys want, what a guy wants. He's told them what he's looking for. So the woman goes right into that role and starts, again, this is a part of the investment. So you pretend to be exactly what the guy's looking for because you don't rule him out. You got to, I'm about to draw this nigga out, and then you go into role play for the next 5 or 10 years or 3 years. Now, that gives the few women out there who are really genuine, who are really sincere about what they're saying, a really bad rep because everybody else is pretending. So you get a real one, and then it's like, yeah, right, she playing. You know what I mean? She tripping. Or let's be real. Yeah. Just that women have insecurities. There are a lot of women men out there with major insecurities and don't know how to deal with a confident woman, with a woman who really doesn't have any hangups about herself, who's not carrying baggage. That can be difficult because of society and all of the conditioning again too. And if they've had mothers that did nothing but dog them out too, or all the past relationships dog them out, so they get, men's egos are sensitive, they get bruised. And, sometimes, not all the time, some men, not alpha men, but some men do get intimidated by a woman such as myself, I think. Or some men are just afraid they might mess something up. So, I'll just be friends. Or it was nice knowing you because I don't want to hurt you. I don't want to, so yeah, I would love to get married and settle and go for the long haul. But I need a match. I need someone that I can submit to, that is mature enough, responsible enough, and honest with himself enough for that to happen.
Okay. All right. So Lou, go ahead, and then we'll pass it.
I'm not perfect either, so I'm not looking perfect.
and then we'll let Courtney close it out.
All right. First of all, big ups to Courtney. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you coming on here as a woman and being honest and being accountable. I just think that you wish that more women would do what you're doing right now and just being honest. And I want you to know, big ups to you. I respect the crap out of you. And if you notice, I haven't said nothing mean. So I'm not some meanie bullfeeny like people seem to think I am. I do have a low tolerance for stupidity, but
Lou, you did well today.
Well,
yeah, I agree.
You had good guests that were being accountable without being honest, right? You didn't have people, trying to make excuses and man bash. Courtney, big ups to you.
Thank you.
Ayo, you know what I'm saying? You're in the right spot. I know you're gonna get married soon. Hopefully you open to polygamy. You know what I'm saying? Because polygamy might be a solution. I think polygamy is a solution Black people in general. So I'm a big fan of polygamy, obviously. So
I support
big
it.
ups to you, Aya.
I support it under the right circumstances.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Now, here's what I will say. I mean, I think that one of the reasons that I think women are divorcing at a very high rate is for a couple of reasons. Number one, we have to all take into account some science here, which is there's a law, a scientific law called Burford's law. I encourage everyone to look this up. This is a cross-species law, and note it's called a law because it's the truth. And the simple clause of that law is as follows: that once the female of the species, females interact with males of any species, that includes human beings, with a specific purpose of acquiring something from said male. Once she has acquired that thing from said male and is no longer gaining any benefit from said relationship, she will then leave that relationship. So we see that across all species, clear across the animal kingdom, and I also don't think that that's a bad thing. It is just a you know, an animal thing. And so in the case of women, they seek men for prime genetic material and security. And once they get the prime genetic material, which is kids, and once they are able to guarantee security, which the current divorce laws does that for them, and you are no longer able to provide her with the status and security that you were providing her before, she's going to leave you. That's just what's going to happen. And I would encourage men to understand that and to protect yourself accordingly and not to take it personally. I would say if a man, to all the young men listening, if you get with a woman, and this includes myself here, if you get with a woman and you want to be with her forever, you should assume that at some point down the line, she's going to leave you. And so you should prepare yourself for that. That doesn't mean you don't enjoy the time that you're with her. That doesn't mean you don't love her. That doesn't mean that you don't enjoy those moments. And you don't know when that's going to happen. And it may never happen. But you should have the mindset and assume that it probably will. Right? And because once she does not need you anymore, she's going to leave you. And that's okay. That means the relationship has run its course. Both sides have got what they needed out of it. For her, it might just be children and some financial resources. For you, it might be the opportunity to have continued your legacy as in reproduce. Take what you can, enjoy it, and then move on. But make sure you protect yourself in the process. So that means prenups or not getting married legally at all and doing what I call a love contract, which is what I do. I am not legally married to any of my wives. I will never legally marry any of my wives. I've told them that. But what I do is I create a solid, legally binding contract with each and every one of them, where everything, like between two consulting adults, are clearly laid out on paper, signed and notarized. And we have the whole ceremony and do the whole gambit that just like any other marriage, where she gets the pictures and stuff, she gets to have the day to feed her narcissism. But I know that the day that she inevitably does leave me, whenever that be, 15, 20, whatever amount of time that is, I'm not going to end up in some financially devastating, sad situation like most men end up in, where they're paying hundreds of thousands of dollars to some woman they're no longer with. I'm not going to create that perverse incentive. So I would recommend every man to take that mindset and just simply accept human nature, female nature, and male nature. That's the first thing. As the conversation devolved into other things about female decision-making in general, my comment on that is it would appear that part of male protection of females is not just simply protecting women from themselves, from others, from other people, but it also appears to be the act of protecting women from themselves, which is kind of what, when I think about it, as I see it, I now understand it. Because that's what a father does from his daughter, right? He tries to stop his daughter from getting caught up with the wrong guy and getting herself pregnant or ending up on the pole or giving up her virginity. And now I start to understand things more, because what a father's pretty much doing the whole time, even though it's couched as he's protecting her from other guys, he's really protecting his daughter from herself by not allowing her to choose the wrong guy, not allowing her to go to the wrong places, not allowing her to go to that party, not allowing her to do things. And so the father takes on that role And then when he walks his daughter down the aisle, he passes her and he gives her to her new husband. Now I suddenly understand the entire marriage situation through this conversation, because what that father's in essence doing is saying, I've been protecting her from others and herself for all these years. Now you have to protect her from others and herself. I've protected her all of this time so that so I could give you a good woman. So now you have to take that baton now, which now everything makes sense. I think that we have not been understanding what we need to be doing for women. It's not just protecting them if they get into a fight or getting raped or something. We gotta limit their decisions. We gotta literally say, you're not allowed to do this. You can't do that. You can't do this. Now that doesn't mean it's a forever thing, but it does seem that might be the solution. And according to Courtney, it sounds like you agree with me. Am I right, Courtney?
Lou, I gotta go, Lou. Let Courtney close out because I gotta hop on a call. So, but
I'm going to say this quickly. Thank you again, Dinus, for having me on. Thank you, beautiful Queen Goddess. Please let's connect. Lou, my email is again, groupglowup@gmail.com. I hope, this will not be a one-time thing. I really enjoyed this conversation. I wanted to close with this in regards to what Lou has been saying. It is a famous quote by one of my favorite authors, poets named Dorothy Parker. And the quote is this: by the time you swear you're his, shivering and sighing, and he vows his passion is infinite, undying, lady, beware of this, one of you is lying. So with that, I'm going to say thank you again. I really enjoyed the conversation. I do think that, we need to be looking more internally. The glow up is definitely real. We need to be glowing up, not just leveling up, being intentional and being purposeful with our interactions and our relationships day to day. Anytime that anyone wants to have a conversation in regards to creating solutions, I'm all for it. And I am Courtney Omega. Thank you again, Dinus.
Hey, Courtney, shout out your book. Somebody said you got a book. Shout out your book.
I do. Okay. Thank you so much. The book is right now I have it for sale. Manuscript. You can email it. It's $10 only. And it is Be Without You. It is it was my great debut feature. This was created more than a decade ago. However, I think everyone will find value in regards to relationships, the past, and being able to locate the type of woman that you are, as well as who you were meant to be. So it is called Be Without You / Should Have Known Better. And you can email it. You can get it emailed directly to you for only $10. That is groupglowup@gmail.com. Visit my channel, Omega Courtney. Thank you again, Dinus. And I am definitely, like I said, I'm always looking forward to being in touch in regards to solutions, healing, and moving forward, you all. Let's do it together. Let's do it together.
Absolutely. Everyone, thank you so much for joining. Like, share, subscribe. Again, Sierra Leone, tour to Sierra Leone, April 21st to the 30th. Again, April 21st to the 30th. Come and join us in Sierra Leone. Send me a message. Send me an email to get all the details. Also, go to dynastymirror.com and make sure you get your Black Love or Die Trying shirt. Go to dynastymirror.com and get your Black Love or Die Trying shirt. Until next time, family. Peace to everyone. Everyone that super chatted, thank you so much. Peace.